Welcome once again to our Theater of the Air. Today we present Mr. James Mason in a radio version of Death Takes a Holiday. The place is the Great Hall in Duke Lambert's castle in Italy. It is early evening, and the day that is drawing to a close has been filled with disturbing events. The Duke's son has had a narrow escape in a motor accident. The Duke's daughter has fainted after seeing a mysterious shadow in the garden of the castle. Despite a search made by the house guests, there is no trace of the intruder. The Duke is now alone in the Great Hall, and he senses, rather than sees, a mysterious presence. Suddenly, he finds himself confronted by a tall, black shadow.
I beg you not to be afraid.
Who are you?
I don't wonder you ask. I suppose as a caller, I'm unusual, even unique.
Is this some horrible masquerade? As if it is.
No, strange as it may seem, this is my natural appearance. That is, to you. In justice to myself, I ought to say that my true appearance is somewhat more attractive than this, but unfortunately I can appear to man only as he imagines me to be. That seems incredible. I'm afraid, my dear fellow, you will have to make a considerable effort. You see, I am, or I was until I crossed your threshold, death.
Death?
I thought it might give you quite a shock. But please be assured I am not on my usual mission tonight. Quite the contrary. If I were, do you think we should be chatting like this? Instead, I should have lain beside you for a moment on your bed, or breathed on your hair as you passed by. I've already stood beside one of you tonight without harm. That lovely girl in the garden.
Ah, then it was you.
Yes, I didn't intend her to see me. She appears to be remarkably sensitive and aware. The rest of you, if I may say so, have been less acute. I have, you know, been with you all the evening.
Oh, then that explains...
Your son, I thought, was rather desperate tonight. If I'd been playing my proper role, I should have taken him and those charming young people in the car. Regretfully, I assure you, I positively had to hold his wheels on the edge of that precipice.
You held?
Yes, quite. But really, your son ought not to drive like that when I am myself.
You saved.
It's amusing, isn't it? Death in the role of a guardian angel. But I did. Doesn't that reassure you that I have no lethal intentions?
It does, rather.
That's better. In a moment, we shall be good friends. But perhaps you'd better sit down again. There are a few more unusual details. I am about to take a holiday. Again, that sounds incredible, doesn't it? Even to me. Think of it. For the first time in history, there'll be no murders. No fatal accidents. No man will even die in his bed. Not a leaf will fall. But don't be alarmed. I shall take 3 days only and crowd as much as possible into them. After that, I must go back.
But why are you doing this?
For a number of reasons. For one thing, to discover why men fear me as they do.
Don't you know?
How should I know, who have never experienced immortal sensation? What could terror mean to me who have nothing to fear? Or pity, when I must not pity? Or kindness, or aspiration, or love? These are only words to me whose meaning I'm curious to discover. In particular, I should like to know something of love. It appears to be a potent force which makes men do quite mad things. 'Tis the word most often on the lips of man when he goes with me, unless he's old or spent. There's another reason. Can you conceive how weary I am of being misunderstood? I see things that are gracious and young and fragrant, and sometimes I desire them with a vague and aching tenderness. But if I come too near, if they feel the presence of my shadow, a horror comes upon their minds. Can you conceive how lonely I am when there is nothing that doesn't shun me, that doesn't shrink when I come near?
Yes, of course.
There is something here to be known and felt, something desirable that makes men fear me and cling to their life. I must know what it is. In short, my dear sir, I wish to live a complete life in the space of 3 days.
But How can you?
I don't quite know, but I'm sure the attempt will be interesting. And you can help me if you will.
I?
You and your friends. Obviously, I must have a place for my experiment. I was passing by chance and saw the Villa Happiness written above your lintel. It had a charming sound. So I find myself here asking your hospitality. Will you accept me for those few days? As a guest?
As a guest?
Don't be alarmed. As a mortal, of course. I assure you I shall be quite a man of the world.
Why, in that case, I should be most happy.
Will it be a great trouble to put me up? Will it?
No, not in the least. I have a suite of rooms prepared for an old friend who is expected, Prince Sirki of Vitalba, Alexandria.
Oh, Prince Sirki.
Then you...
Yes, just this evening. I didn't know, of course, he was a friend of yours.
So I'm not to expect...
No, I'm sorry.
Poor Sirki.
That gives me a suggestion. Was the prince known to you and your family and your guests?
No, none of them knew him.
Good. Then, since I've unfortunately been obliged to deprive you of a guest, it seems only just that I should take his place. I shall, therefore, be Prince Sirki of Vitalba, Alexandria, for 3 days.
As you will.
You are the head of this house, and therefore responsible. Your guests could not bear the knowledge of my name. If my secret is divulged, I shall leave instantly as Sirki and return in my proper person. Do I make myself clear?
Perfectly.
Then it's a bargain.
It is.
You are distinguished among hosts. None has ever before entertained death and lived. And now, shall we begin our interesting experiment?
His Highness, Prince Sirki.
Sirki. Welcome, Your Serene Highness, to the Villa Happiness.
Thank you, my dear Duke. I'm so happy to be here.
We are more than honored.
Thank you. I've rarely been so charmingly received.
And now may I present my guest?
It will be a pleasure.
The Baron Caesarea, sir. A statesman who was once important in the affairs of the world, who now looks back on a long and interesting life.
I'm delighted to meet the Baron, at last.
And I to meet you, Your Highness. Indebted to you greatly, sir, for an exciting evening. You make a mysterious and dramatic appearance. My rheumatism disappears at the same time. I feel years younger. If I go on like this, I shall take up statesmanship again.
Don't, I beg you. I remember that it was you who brought Italy into the Great War.
Oh, well, as a prince and statesman, I hope you approve.
I was not thinking as a prince and statesman, but as... We shall talk further, my dear Baron, of several things. Considering your distinction and age, it is surprising that fate has not introduced us before now.
Well,
And this is my son, Corrado.
Your Highness.
Ah, the son who drives so furiously. My friends, permit me to call you my friends.
Your Highness.
Please make no change in your plans because of my sudden appearance. I should like to join in your pleasures, if I may, and enjoy the hours with you. I beg you not to make a stranger of me.
Father, I'm sorry I'm late.
Your Highness, may I present my daughter, Grazia, Prince Sirki.
Your Highness.
We've met before.
Have we?
The rooms are ready, Your Grace.
My rooms?
Yes, at your pleasure.
Then, if you will forgive me, I think I will go now. I've not slept for ages, and I feel curiously tired. Good night, my friends. My holiday begins most agreeably.
Good night, Your Highness.
3 days pass by, and the mysterious visitor's holiday is almost over. Among the Duke's house guests with whom he has made friends is Alda, a young, beautiful woman of 28, whose manner suggests a restrained restlessness.
Your Highness.
Oh, there you are. I'm so glad you've come. You're not afraid of me, are you?
No, but I am.
You conceal it bravely.
Perhaps my interest is greater than my fear.
Why are you interested?
Because you are the most fascinating, the most compelling, the most royal man. And I am a woman.
Yes, a beautiful woman. And between this man and this woman, Life is passing.
Yes. Life that is immense and terrible, growing me.
You're an interesting woman, Elder.
Am I?
Shall I tell you what you are?
Yes.
You have lost many illusions, but you cling to one, hoping that it is not an illusion. Do you know what it is?
Yes.
You have sought experience, but none has satisfied you, yet. You long for something wild, overpowering, to sweep you beyond thought.
Yes.
Shall I read you further? You're an open book to me.
Yes.
I've been listening to the sound of you. On the surface, there are many little sounds, graceful and charming, and beneath, one simple and primitive sound. I'm hearing it now. Shall I go on?
Yes.
You do not know who I am, and my mystery attracts you and stirs your desire. I can see it now, throbbing in your blood. I can see it rising like a sob in your throat. The unknown is drawing you. I wonder if I were to tell you who I am.
Who are you?
Ah, could you bear that? You, a mortal.
A mortal?
I wonder if your passion is great enough. You desire me now. You are quivering at the thought of my touch. I can feel you calling to me. If I were to kiss you. Ah, now you are caught up into the dark current of my being. Shall I call you back, or will you go on and on?
On.
Ah, then I can feed your desire.
Yes.
You do desire me?
Yes.
How much?
More than life itself.
I wonder. You're not afraid?
No.
Let me see. Look into my eyes. Look deep. What do you see there?
Shadows.
Look into that shadow. Let your thought go to its wildest reach. I will you to know who I am.
No. No.
You who were not afraid, you desired me as a mortal. Say my immortal name and see if you desire me still.
I can't.
Say it.
Oh, no, no.
Say it.
You are...
It wasn't love with you, only passion. You were flaming, but at the sound of my name, lust grew cold. And that is not the measure of love. You're not great enough for me, Elder. I'm looking for a response you could never give. I'm searching for someone who knows and is not afraid. There is something else. There is another flower, more fragrant than this, which I haven't plucked yet. I've been afraid, but I must pluck it. Until then, I haven't lived. And I will not end these days in failure.
With James Mason in the part of Death, we continue the story of Death Takes a Holiday. Death, in his earthly guise of Prince Sirki, stands in the great hall of the castle of the Duke of Lambert. His holiday is almost over. He is joined there by Grazia, the Duke's daughter. She's only 18, charming and gentle.
Your Highness is being very kind tonight.
I wonder if I am being kind.
Perhaps I should have said gracious.
No, not gracious either. I have discovered that even the mightiest must sue for certain favors.
I should think your Highness would never need to sue.
On the contrary, I'm feeling strangely humble for the first time in my life.
And I'm feeling strangely thrilled and proud.
Grazia, your mother is asking for you.
We've just been exchanging compliments, the little princess and I. It's a very pretty custom of your society.
I'm sure your Highness is accomplished.
Oh, he is. And he makes his pretty speeches sound so significant.
I don't wonder.
Will you forgive me, your Highness?
Certainly.
Oh, I've invited such guests tonight as I thought might interest you. Later, there will
Tell
be...
me, do any of your guests know?
None, your Highness.
Good. I wish that reserve kept without fail.
I understand.
No, forgive me, but you do not. I've been experimenting, and I find that no mortal could bear the knowledge. No mortal woman.
Is there anything I can do?
No, except not to interfere.
Forgive me, but I do not understand.
Naturally. You asked me once if this were a masquerade. It was at first. I was playing a game for my own amusement. I thought I was free to choose this or that pleasure. But now I am caught and being carried blindly towards...
Toward what, Your Highness?
Towards something I'd not foreseen. Towards that which gives life its meaning and its grandeur. Toward that which makes me build and hope. Toward...
Yes?
Toward love.
Love?
That's strange to you, is it not? But it's infinitely stranger to me. I, who am called the destroyer of life, now wish to love and cherish life, to hold it tenderly and passionately.
But do you love a mortal?
I said passionately. Does that indicate a bloodless ghost?
But, Your Highness, what will happen when you...
You think perhaps I'm being cruel.
This is horrible.
Perhaps I am being cruel, I don't know. But isn't that proof of my mortality? Does your mortal lover think and weigh? He plunders where he can, knowing that there will be an end. Does it matter if that end is 1 day or 10 years?
But it is fatal to love you.
Have you forgotten that tonight I must go with empty hands?
Are you sure?
I am an expert at conclusions, my friend. Don't look at me with that fear in your eyes. I tell you, it is I who am afraid. I came to sip and taste your pleasures, to find what meaning they had that makes you cling to life. It is love. And now I am caught and bound until this borrowed blood of mine is aching with an intolerable pain. I, who was invincible, have found a stronger thing than I.
Will you tell me who?
No, I will not tell you. But understand this clearly. I will not be thwarted. I should not wish to repay your kindness with disaster, but I warn you, no one must hinder me. Is that clear?
Yes.
Good.
And now, if you'll excuse me, I must join my other guests.
Why are you not with the others?
For the same reason that you're not, I think.
You say that so simply, as though you knew.
I do know.
It's strange. We hardly need to speak, do we?
Thoughts are so much clearer than words.
Then perhaps you can tell me what I've been doing in the garden.
I think I can. Almost.
Tell me. I want to hear it from your lips.
I think you've been holding life in your hands, as I do sometimes. I think you've been a little afraid of its beauty.
Ah, you do know. You wonderful, exquisite child. I've been walking in a garden that was full of you, and under a sky that sang of you. Your laughter was in a wind that went by and touched my hair. I stood looking at the sky, and the night was illuminated by the knowledge of you. And I was shaken.
And ever since I saw you, I've been shaken. Oh, what is this that has happened? Who are you?
Circe?
I don't mean that. You seem to come from a distant place.
I do come from far away, but...
When I'm with you, I see depths in your eyes that are like the worlds I visit in sleep.
Grazie.
And when you leave me, the light goes from the sky.
Oh, grazie. Grazie. Don't be afraid of me.
I'm not afraid.
I am Circe who loves you, more than any man could love you. I am Circe who needs your warmth and your beauty more than any man could need them. Grazia, listen to me. I am a great power, and I am humble before you. And tonight I must go back to my distant kingdom.
Will you take me?
Take you?
Yes. I should be so unhappy alone.
Take you? No. No, don't tempt me. But, Grazia, give me 1 hour of you. Let me hold you once and feel your life. You are the meaning of beauty that I must know. Grazia, let me hold you and feel that last ecstasy and know that I've lived.
Oh, my love, my love.
My little love.
Grazia! Grazia!
What's happened, Father?
Grazia and Prince Circe have gone into the garden. There is nothing to be alarmed about, Corrado.
But you're alarmed?
No.
Father, you're terrified. What's wrong? Tell me.
No, wait.
Then I'll go.
I forbid you to move.
Then tell me why I can't go. Give me your reason.
I can't.
Grazia's in some danger, I know it. Who is this prince?
You don't know what you're asking.
And I don't care. I only know that my sister's in danger. Who is this prince?
Very well, I'll tell you. He said if I reveal his secret, he will leave instantly as Circe and return as... Steel yourself if you're to hear it. He is not Prince Circe. He is the one who waits, the one whom all men dread. His Majesty, Death, amusing himself on our holiday. He's been gone over 2 hours. If only he'd come back.
And bring Grazia.
Good evening.
Where is Grazia? Surely you haven't already...
I'm Circe for a few moments still.
And must we lose Grazia?
The irony of this is magnificent. I am the Lord of Ending, and now I am caught in my own net. Men are sad because I am the world, and there must be an end and a frustration. And in a few moments, I shall be what I was, and for me, too, there will be an end.
But you are above loss and pain.
Am I, and still immortal? I thought tonight that I'd reached the end of my experiment. I'd found love. But it was not the end. Beyond that, I found the pain of the loss of love, if I must lose it.
But it must be lost to you.
Why?
Because you are...
Death. My dear Duke, thank you for defining the problem. I've been talking a little wildly, but you brought me back to earth. The situation is this. You do not wish to give up Grazia, neither do I. It is as simple as that, and as profound as the sadness of all parting.
Your Highness, you came to this house asking to be received as a mortal. We accepted you, and so far as it was in our power, we tried to make you happy.
Yes?
There is a code, sir, which holds among men, which requires that one shall not violate good faith. I ask you, sir, to respect that code. I'm speaking of Grazia. She has disappeared. You are going. What are you going to do?
Give her back to us. Give her back to us.
Someone must always lose.
Then give her back to us.
And parents are left for love.
But not like this, not in death's visible hand.
There are worlds between us, and I cannot reach your minds. You ask me to make this sacrifice as a man, when my desire is greater than a man could know. You ask me to give up love, when I long for love with a surpassing hunger. You are in terror, and I am in agony. Why do men fear my coming? I do not see how they can bear their lives. Their courage is magnificent. I am proud to have worn the garment of this flesh.
Your Highness, we are not answered. You have 10 minutes more of life, and after that, what can you give Grazia?
Sleep, perhaps, and the release of dreams, and beyond that... There are no words by which I can tell you.
But that is death to us, and to her.
A word you have been taught to fear, a symbol of the unknown. And because of that word, you would keep her from me.
Your Highness, she is dear to us.
But even now she is not yours. The shadowy places of the imagination are her home. It is such a simple step from her world to mine.
But Grazia doesn't know who you are. Before you do this monstrous thing, won't you tell her and let her choose?
Even Grazia was born to fear this face. She would die with me now as Circe, but to choose death as a lover. No. No, I will not.
But you gave me your word.
My word. I remember I said that no harm should come to this house.
Or to the one you loved.
But I'm doing her no harm, if you only knew. She's coming. Save her if you can.
Your Highness, did you call?
Where did you go? Oh, Grazia, don't run away like that again. Not in the night.
But I was quite safe with him. I love to be with him. I must stay with him always.
But you can't go with Prince Circe. You can't.
Why, Father?
Because he's going far away to a distant country. You couldn't live there.
But I couldn't live here without him. I know he seems a little Terrifying to you, but I'm happy with him and safe and so contented. I've found the happiness I've looked for so long. Why are you all so strange?
Save her.
Tell her what you will.
But what is there to tell? Do you think there's anything that I don't understand? I love His Highness, and I must go with him.
Your Highness, you must.
Say what you will, it'll make no difference.
For God's sake, it is nearly midnight.
I know. So my mortal experience must have the usual ending. I, too, must have my parting. Grazia, I came to this house as a jest, and made love to you as a jest.
You're trying to destroy my love because they wish it. It was not a jest.
Grazia, don't smile. It's true. Someone tell her quickly while there's time. Corrado, she's so cold. Take her in your arms and give her warmth.
Grazia. Grazia, don't you hear me?
Yes, I hear.
Won't you stay with me?
I can't, Corrado.
You can't go with me.
Yes, I can. Shall we go now?
But you don't know who I am.
You are my love.
I am death. Now you see me as I am.
But I've always seen you like that. You are not changed.
You have seen me like this?
Yes. You seem beautiful to me.
Then there is a love which casts out fear. And I have found it. A love that is as strong as death. Come.
You've been listening to James Mason in the part of Death, in a radio version of the play Death Takes a Holiday. Until the next time we meet, when we shall be presenting another outstanding film or play. Goodbye.
Incurable Romantics by Perry Pontac, with John Moffat, John Wood, John Rowe and Sandra Dickinson.
Lovely afternoon. Quite. Such a splendid view from the balcony. The garden in full flower, the cathedral and tower magnificent, and the... what is that called? Up there. Do you remember? The sky? Of course. Thank you. And the sky, cinereous clouds engolden by the sun, soft parted by the gentle, sighing breeze. One might almost say. Indeed. I couldn't agree more. Ah, Flavio, the tumbler of spring water is for me.
And mine is the beaker of wine. You do forgive me, my dear fellow. I should introduce myself, but I'm afraid I've completely forgotten who I am. Such a nuisance. I haven't a clue. Well, several clues, I suppose. Judging from my reflection in the glass, I am an elderly gentleman, between, say, 80 and 85 years of age, short and stocky, with wise twinkling eyes, a grey beard with ginger overtones, and an intellectual profile. A distinguished scholar, perhaps. And I seem to be resident in a home for the aged, a rather luxurious one, on a hilltop, overlooking a picturesque city. Southern European, I suspect.
Yes, it's Florence. You're at the Casa Fortunato rest home. I am a resident here myself.
I see. And today's date? Sorry for asking.
Not at all. 12th of March, 1875.
Ah. And do you know my name by any chance?
I do indeed. Why, we've been great friends for years. Your name is John.
John? Not Giovanni?
No.
Yet you say this is Italy.
Yes, but you are an English expatriate.
Am I? So, we're not speaking Italian then?
No, English.
Oh, so I'm from England. Where, precisely? Do you know?
London. You're a Cockney, in fact.
Oh, blimey. But I don't on the whole speak like a Cockney. At least, judging from the accent as delineated in the works of the late Mr. Dickens.
You've lost your accent, I'm afraid, after years of associating with us, with George and me. We're English expatriates, too. And we're, as they say, very well spoken. Yes, you've lost that invaluable link with your working-class origins. A great pity. Sorry about that.
No, not to worry. John, and my surname, have you any idea?
Of course, my friend.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Oh, George, good afternoon.
Ghastly day, isn't it? This damn serenity sets my teeth on edge. At least what's left of them. Ah, my hock and soda. Put it down there, Flavio.
I was just telling John who he was.
Again. What is it Shakespeare says? Old men forget, yet all shall be forgot. Sometimes I think we don't forget enough. Memory is the curse of age, not forgetfulness. To know one's identity is to know one's limitations.
Still, I should be most grateful to learn my surname.
Certainly, my dear fellow. So sorry. It is Keats.
Keats? John Keats? Well, not the famous romantic poet who died tragically young in Italy. Oh, I am a great admirer of his work, especially the odes, where youth grows pale and spectre thin and dies.
Where palsy shakes a few sad last grey hairs.
Here, where men sit and hear each other groan.
But as he died of consumption 54 years ago at the age of 26, how...
An excellent question, John. First of all, it is true that you nearly died in 1821. You'd sailed to Italy in the hope of recovering your health. An English winter would put an end to me, as you wrote in a famous letter to Shelley.
Shelley? Shelley who?
The poet, Percy Bysshe Shelley, who invited you to join him in Italy.
Oh, yes, of course.
On your arrival, you showed every sign of expiring almost immediately, and news to that effect, however premature, soon reached England. But in the event, you revived, you rallied, you recovered, thanks to the benign Italian climate and, in great measure, to the constant care and comfort offered by Shelley, who nursed you back to health.
Did he? A true gentleman, and a fine poet. He wrote an outstanding poem on my death. Adonais. Do you know it?
Yes, I think so.
He is secure. That's me. He is secure, and now can never mourn. A heart grown cold, a head grown grey in vain. Yes, but as I didn't die young, or at all, why did Shelley write an elegy on me?
My dear John, the reports of your untimely passing had a dynamic effect on the sale of your work. You became, in the eyes of the reading public, a youthful martyr to art, stung to death by malevolent critics, and your poetry, scorned and ignored before, became hugely successful. You are now more popular than ever. By promoting the story of your early death, Shelley helped to secure your great and lasting reputation.
I see. And yet, if I may ask, how is it that you know all this? Indeed, who exactly are you?
Isn't it obvious, my dear John? I am... blast! It was on the tip of my tongue. No, it's gone. George, can you help me out?
Oh, certainly. He knows all this because he is himself Shelley. Percy Bysshe Shelley.
Shelley? Am I? But didn't he drown off the coast of Viareggio in 1822 at the age of 29, his boat going down in a squall?
Well, so it is reported. And indeed you would have drowned had you not been rescued by a friend, the famous poet and swimmer extraordinaire, Lord Byron, who, seeing your plight, plunged into the sea, plucked you from the raging surf, and deposited you on dry land on the far reaches of the Spetzian Bay.
But Shelley's body was famously burnt on the shore in the presence of his friends, his heart snatched from the flames by one of the mourners.
It wasn't your body, my dear P.B., but that of an extra passenger, one of Byron's sailor lad friends, going along for the ride. The world, however, concluded that Shelley was dead, even as you were recovering in a rude fisherman's hut which Byron had rented for the rest of the season. In the meantime, the Keats effect had taken place. Your books began to sell as never before.
An illuminating story, George. How do you come to know all this?
How? To be honest, I've no idea.
I know. I remember.
Do you, John?
George knows, because he is himself George Noel Gordon, Lord Byron.
I? The great Byron? No, but didn't he die at Missolonghi of fever in March 1824 while defending Greece against Turkish domination?
Very nearly, George, and no doubt he would have, had the local physicians continued their overzealous application of leeches. But happily, Shelley here came to Greece to visit his valiant friend.
Yes, so I did.
And he brought with him a young man, a recent graduate in medicine from Guy's Hospital, London, who dismissed the doctors and put into effect a more modern regime of healing, restoring you in time to perfect health. Your recovery, however, remained a secret. On your instructions, an account of your heroic death in the cause of liberty was issued to the international press. You became more popular than ever, the very spirit of the Romantic Age. The Keats effect.
Excellent! And who was this fellow who saved my life?
I remember, George. It was John Keats himself.
Keats? But didn't he die in, Oh, no, of course. I lived. And live.
Contrary to vulgar opinion, none of us perished tragically in his youth, but all survive even now, deep into age, into our 80s.
Rather a profound bond between us, gentlemen. May I suggest we drink a toast to our ancient fellowship?
Certainly, P.B. To ourselves, my friend.
Pardon me, but aren't we forgetting something?
Well, almost certainly, John. Is anything in particular?
How this dying of ours cruelly affected others, those we loved and love. The girl, the woman I shall ever adore.
Who?
Fanny.
Fanny?
My Fanny Brawn. Back in Hampstead, my beloved, my betrothed. Whatever became of her, gentlemen? I fear that the news of my death may have overwhelmed her tender, innocent spirit, that she became a crazed, unkempt, wild-eyed figure wandering in the rain and mist, first on Hampstead Heath, so convenient to home, and then further afield, through the wilds of Exmoor, perhaps, crying my name to the indifferent winds and the hollowing, echoing caves. Oh, my dearest,
John.
Yeah, thank you, yes. Oh, my dearest John. John, why were you taken from me? And perhaps, in a final fit of despair, hurling herself off a lofty promontory onto the rocks below, the seething river carrying her piecemeal on to the uncharted, oblivious sea. My fault entirely, my friends. I take full responsibility.
Fanny Brawn? Fanny Brawn, you say?
Did you know her, George?
Know her? My Fanny?
It's a familiar name. There was a Fanny of my acquaintance. Died in childbirth in 1810 or so. It was one of mine, as I recall. Fanny Wardle, flighty little thing. Where did you say yours lived?
In Hampstead.
No, never did Hampstead. Kilburn, yes. A fiery Irish girl named Tessa. Haunches of a goddess. Laughter like a gurgling brook. Obdurate as the oak at first, then fluid and yielding as quicksilver. And then there was Molly of Muswell Hill and Jeremy of Peckham.
Fanny Braun lived in Hampstead, indeed in the same house as myself.
Oh, I see.
I rented rooms at Wentworth Place, the rest of which was occupied by her and her highly respectable family, on a street now known as Keats Grove, I believe.
Really? Well done.
A Regency period cottage. There were so many of them in those days. A splendid plum tree in the garden with a nightingale, and lighting up the house with her dear presence, my Fanny, modest, gracious, loyal.
Sounds a lovely creature.
Oh, lovely. And betrayed by me. And always I ask myself the question, why? Why? And the answer comes. For increased sales, for renown, for glory, for mere immortality. I chose fame, gentlemen, not love.
Love?
But surely you understand, P.B., your adored wife, your dear Mrs. Shelley, never to have seen her again.
Mary? Mary was, as it happens, far more effective as a widow than she had ever been as a wife. Absolutely devoted to me after I died, couldn't do enough. She offered the world an idealized view of me, assembling me like her famous Frankenstein monster, but using only the finest parts. The mind of Plato, the genius of Milton, the soul of St. Francis. She published edition after edition of my verse, from which I continue to draw a handsome income. As a result, over the years, I've been free to work for a number of worthy causes of a progressive and revolutionary nature. As to Mary, sadly she died back in 1851, bless her.
I see. But you, George, is there no dear woman heartlessly abandoned, draining your life of its meaning?
Oh, hardly. In the same way that P.B. escaped his wife by dying, I escaped the attentions of my own pursuing furies. Creditors, the law, the press, ex-wives, ex-mistresses, ex-concubines, ex-catamites, ravished friends, ravished strangers, ravished relations, and funded generously by the profits from my poetry, thanks to the connivance of our common publisher, I led a life of increasingly shameless extravagance. No desire unfulfilled, no whim denied, no perversity unsatiated, before settling at last in my old age here in Florence with my fellow poets. My friends, may I raise a toast? To our health, gentlemen.
To our health.
Yeah.
Not that I have any to speak of these days.
Are you unwell, George?
Have you forgotten, P.B.? I am mortally ill. It's merely a matter of time, according to my doctors.
Of course. Sorry, I forgot.
I wish I could forget. And to be dying, however slowly, of overindulgence, of obesity. The strain on my heart, apparently. Call me an incurable romantic, if you will. And of course I am an incurable romantic. But I should greatly prefer to be carried off by consumption, like you, John, or to drown in perilous seas, like you, P.B., or to perish of mush fever on the tented field of battle in my own heroic manner. But of corpulence...
I am not well myself, as it happens.
No, are you not, P.B.? I've forgotten.
I have very bad lungs, you see, and the long-range prognosis is not comforting. Caught a bad chill many years ago, standing in the west wind, writing an ode, wearing a little poet's blouse open at the neck in the fashion of the time. Madness!
Well, I'm quite healthy, as far as I remember, at least for my age, whatever that is. Oh, and yet what is health, what is life, without my lovely, loyal Fanny Braun?
Your Fanny Braun. Fanny Braun. Yes, I told you the name was familiar. A few months ago, Flavio gave me a letter for you from a Fanny Brawn, posted abroad. I quite forgot all about it until now.
A letter for me from Fanny?
Yes, I think I still have it somewhere in one of my dressing gown pockets.
Oh.
Here it is. Oh. Rather crumpled, I'm afraid.
From Fanny? Oh, but can it be? I've forgotten my spectacles.
Oh, I'll read it to you if you'd like.
Oh, please, George.
Oh. My dear John, I wonder if you remember me, your little Fanny from Hampstead. When I discovered you was in Florence, I reckoned I'd travel to Italy and seek you out. I'll be waiting in the gardens of the Casa Fortunata on March the 12th at midday. Hope to see you then. Love, your Fanny B.
Well, John?
I'm sorry, but George read the letter so softly that I couldn't quite hear it, and I left my ear trumpet in the vestibule.
Oh, read it yourself.
Here, you can use my monocle.
Oh, thank you, P.B. Little Fanny. Oh, travel to Italy in the gardens, March the 12th at midday. Today's the 12th. What time is it?
6:17 in the evening, precisely. A trifle late.
Oh!
But let me look down into the garden. It's possible, at her age, that she's fallen asleep. Indeed, I think I hear a faint snoring floating up from the geraniums. Fanny! Fanny Brawn! Yes, John, a woman I couldn't quite make out at this distance, slumbering on a bench, started at my call, and is even now darting, however feebly, up our stairs.
She is my Fanny? Oh, how do I look?
Oh, more than acceptable, my dear fellow. I'll just wipe away that bead of drool from your chin, and you'll be elegance itself.
Oh, Fanny, Fanny, I can't believe it.
Nor should you, John. What is it you wrote years ago? Beauty cannot keep her lustrous eyes, or new love pine at them beyond tomorrow.
Oh, Fanny.
John.
Fanny. Oh.
John.
My dear Fanny. Oh, let me look at you. Why, you've not changed at all. You've matured, of course, but beneath the warts and the wrinkles, the cataracts and the carbuncles, the sags and the swellings, the flaps and the flap, the knobs and the knobs, you're as exquisite as ever, like buried treasure, all the more precious for the long search.
Oh, and ain't you just as sweet as ever? You still got a little phrase for everything. God darn it, but I'd have known you anywhere, John.
Though in some ways you have changed, perhaps. Your accent, for example.
Well, heck, I've been living in Texas, a little town called Bigot's Creek, for almost 60 years, since right after you was supposed to have died. Married a Texan, a professor of literature I met in St. John's Wood, Brett Baines, an expert on the romantic poets of England. Well, I'm widowed now, since last winter. I figure Brett only married me on account of my being connected to you. He never did have no use for me otherwise. He liked to say to me, Fanny, you are more brawn than Baines. One of his jokes, I think.
Ah, yes.
And he found out you was still alive by studying letters and documents and things from your publisher. Anyways, after he died, I reckoned I'd come and see you. Brett thunk I was dumb, but I'm going to write a book about you, John. Got a deal all set up with a publisher in El Paso. It'll be called Keats at 80, and it'll be a sensation, he says. Well, I got to interview you, of course. Well, how's about it?
Oh, certainly, Fanny, whatever you want. It's the very least I can do to make up for the years of pain and heartache I've put you through.
You'll do it?
Moreover, my dear Fanny, if I may be so presumptuous, I would fain ask again the honour of your hand in marriage. Will you?
Oh, sure thing.
Oh.
Then they can put on the front of the book by Fanny Brawn Baines. Keats. I'm as happy as a bullfrog in molasses. We can get married back in Bigot's Creek. You're gonna love it there.
But, John, are you entirely certain all this is wise?
Who's these old fellas?
Oh, forgive me, my sweet. I haven't introduced my dear friends. This is Percy Bysshe Shelley, and this is Lord Byron.
Delighted.
Shelley and Byron. Ain't they poets, too, who died young? Brett used to go on about them, but he thought they was dead. Oh, I can add another couple of chapters to my book all about them.
I beg your pardon. My dear woman.
Well, the longer the better. That's what my publisher said.
Did he? Oh, then perhaps you'd like to include some of my Fanny poems. I've written one a day for 54 years.
Oh, have you, my little muskrat?
Yes. Sonnets, odes, lyrics, narratives, ballads, villanelles, epics, limericks. I have several stout volumes in manuscript in my quarters. I'll bring you a few to look at.
Oh, well, you don't have to.
Oh, won't be a moment, my fairest fairy Fanny.
Mrs. Baines.
Mr. Shelley.
I must express my disquiet at your intention to write about Lord Byron and myself to reveal that we are still alive. My dear Fanny, such news would bitterly disappoint our many admirers throughout the world and deeply distress them as well. It would also, I fear, have a most unfortunate effect on our sales and on the dissemination of my ideas. Ashes and sparks, my words among mankind.
According to Brett, from what I remember, Mr. Shelley, you is some kind of atheist, pacifist, revolutionary, slave-loving, vegetarian sissy. We ain't got no time for you and your ideas down Texas way.
Don't you? Ah, I see.
Powerfully put, my good woman. But perhaps I can produce a more seductive argument?
Huh?
Oh, my dear, my strangely voluptuous Fanny. May I take your hand? If you promise to omit all reference to Shelley and me from your excellent book, I think I can promise you myriad sensual pleasures, treats for the fleshly appetite undreamt of even in Texas itself.
Really, Mr. Byron?
Already I burn to begin my tutelage. Your beauty, my Fanny, like a beacon lures me on. Your oddly golden ringlets, cheeks of almost unnatural red. Oh, may I embrace you? Your delicate smirk, betokening charm and a ready wit. Oh, may I undo the top button of your buckskin smock? Oh, your breasts, fragrant and pendulous as banana flowers, a hanging garden beyond Babylon. One kiss set just between them, I think.
Ah, Mr. Byron, I'm sweating like a weasel in a waffle iron. I'm getting all kind of...
Oh, Fanny. Fanny?
My God, George! Has she swooned? Or is she dead?
Bit of each, I'm afraid. It's my fault entirely. I stoked feelings too powerful for mortal to endure.
Gentlemen.
John,
You know how it is. You go into a room to do something, but you can't remember what it was, so you decide to return to the room you've just left to help you remember, but you can't remember which room that was. Though I suspect I came from here. Do you recall what was going on when I...
Oh, my dear fellow.
Blimey, who's that? The elderly woman, beached on the floor, gross and squat, pleated with wrinkles, rouged and powdered, withered and bewigged.
Just an inmate from the ladies' wing come by for a chat. Seems to have dropped off.
I see.
Oh, I'll have her removed. Flavio! Flavio! Take her out, will you, and fling her on a bench in the garden. There's a good chap. And here's a little something for your trouble.
Now, what is it we were doing, gentlemen? I'm afraid I've completely forgotten.
Oh, we were just about to raise a toast to ourselves, John. To 3 famously dead romantic poets.
A toast, did you say? Excellent. May I?
By all means.
To ourselves, gentlemen, and to all our memories.
To ourselves and our memories.
Should old acquaintance be forgot, and
something.
In Incurable Romantics by Perry Pontac, John Keats was played by John Moffat, Lord Byron by John Wood, Percy Bysshe Shelley by John Rowe, and Fanny Brawne by Sandra Dickinson. The director was David Hunter.
Something. No, wait a minute, that's another song. What about...
And this is Leslie Mitchell bidding you welcome to this Theatre of the Air, where each week will be presented famous British stars in well-known British plays and films. Outstanding among the films of Britain during the war years were pictures produced by the team of David Lean, Ronald Neame, and Anthony Havelock Allen in association with Noel Coward. Such films as In Which We Serve, Blithe Spirit, This Happy Breed, and Brief Encounter. Today we're privileged to present a special radio adaptation of one of these films, played for you by members of the original cast, including Robert Newton, John Mills, Celia Johnson, and Kay Walsh, with Stanley Holloway as your storyteller in his original characterization of Bob Mitchell, the man from next door. It's the story of a London family, their adventures, their loves, and their triumphs during 20 years of history. Noel Coward's This Happy Breed.
Mitchell's my name, Bob Mitchell. I live at number 15 Sycamore Road, Clapham Common, London SW15. At least, I used to live there before the war. The last war, I mean. The 1939 lark. But this story I'm going to tell you, well, that starts 20 years before that. April 1919. All afternoon, there'd been a moving van outside the house next door, number 17. Round about tea time, after the moving van had gone, I popped round the back way and went in to pay my respects to the new neighbours, the Gibbonses. I gave a knock at the window, back at number 17.
Oh, dear.
Oh, I hope I don't intrude. I live at number 15 next door, and my missus and I thought if you needed anything in the way of groceries...
Well, I'll be blowed. Mitchell. Bob Mitchell.
That's right.
Well, don't you remember me? Frank Gibbons, the Buffs, B Company, Festerbert, 1915.
Strike me pink, it's as dead as mutton after that night attack when we'd gone on to Givenchy and left you in the mud.
Got me dead as mutton? I'm tougher than that. Only one small hole through my leg in 4 years. Here, take a chair.
Thanks.
How did you make out?
Well, not so bad. Got gassed in 17. All right now, though. Left me chest a bit weak, that's all.
Well, I'll say it's a small world and no mistake.
Don't you think you'd better introduce me, Frank?
Of course. This is the wife, Bob.
Pleased to meet you, Mrs. Gibbons.
Oh, it's a pleasure, I'm sure.
Well, what a coincidence. I can't get over it.
How long have you been here?
Oh, over a year now. We took the house when I got my discharge in March 18. Nora, that's my missus. She would have come herself tonight, only she's feeling a bit under the weather. You see, we're expecting a little stranger any day now.
Oh, it's not our first, is it?
No. We've got a boy 14. Wants to be a sailor.
Here, we got to celebrate this somehow.
Well, I'll tell you what, I've got a bottle of Johnny Walker next door. Won't take a minute.
Now, you two sit here and I'll go and get Sylvia's wind harness.
Oh, dear.
It won't take a minute to get the Johnny Walker.
Here, whose dugout do you think this is? You sit down.
All right.
I'll pop in and have one with you later.
You got a job yet?
Yes, I had a bit of luck. A chap called Tickler in my regiment was running a sort of travel agency in Oxford Street before the war. Well, he was the first one I run into when I got back last April. He started his business again, he gave me a job.
A travel agency, eh? Whee!
Tours of the battlefields, I'll thank you.
That's a good one.
Yeah, some people certainly do have queer ways of enjoying themselves, don't they?
Here, you've got kids, haven't you? I remember you talking about them.
Yeah, 3. 2 girls and a boy. They were with Ethel's aunt in Broadstairs. We didn't want them under our feet while we was moving in.
How old are they?
Reg, the boy, he's 12. Queen is 13, and Vi, she's 40.
Here you are. Supper'll be ready in a minute. You sure you won't stay and take potluck with us, Mr. Mitchell?
Thanks very much, Mrs. Gibbons. I really must get back.
Will you ask your wife when it'd be convenient for me to pop in and see her?
Any time at all.
Well, I'll be saying good night, Mr. Mitchell.
Aren't you going to have a drop, dear?
No, dear, we'll spoil me supper now. Don't be long.
Don't forget, if there's anything you're wanting.
Thanks very much, I'm sure. Good night.
Good night.
Here, old man.
Thanks.
It tastes a bit funny, but it's better than nothing. Happy days.
Happy days.
And they were happy days, too. All the rest of the boys were marching back, and we were cheering them home. We had some larks, our 2 families, the Mitchells and the Gibbonses. 1924, and the Wembley exhibition. Those were the days. The families were growing up, and my boy Billy, he joined the Navy, was seeing quite a lot of Frank Gibbons' daughter Queenie. I always thought Queenie was a bit flighty, but Billy was struck on her. I remember one Christmas party. It'd be about 1925. Young Billy managed to work it so that he was alone for a few minutes with Queenie.
Look here, Queenie. If you think I oughtn't have said that about wanting to talk to you alone in front of Vi, I'm sorry, see. I can't say fair in that now, can I?
No, I suppose not.
Well, then?
All right.
I do love you, Queenie. You know that, don't you?
Yes.
And I wouldn't do anything to upset you. That is, not meaning to. You know that, too, don't you?
Oh, Billy. I wish you weren't going away so soon.
Will you write to me every now and again? Even if it's only a postcard?
Yes, if you'll write to me.
Oh, that's easy. Promise?
Cross my heart.
You're the sweetest girl I ever met in all my life. Or ever will meet, either.
Oh, that's easy to say, but how do you know?
Well, never you mind is true anyway. I say, Queen, a little later on, when I'm earning a bit more, do you think we might have a shot at getting married?
Oh, Bill, how do I know? Or you might be in China or anywhere. You might have forgotten all about me by then.
More likely to be the other way around. Pretty girl like you working at being a manicurist, talking to all sorts of different fellas all day long.
It isn't all jam being a sailor's wife, is it?
Well, it wouldn't be so bad, you know, if I get my promotion right and get on.
I'll tell you something awful. I hate living here. I hate living in a house that's exactly like hundreds of other houses. I hate coming home from work on a tube. I hate washing up and helping Mum darn Dad's socks and listening to Aunt Sil keeping on about how ill she is all the time. And what's more, I know why I hate it. It's because it's all so common. There. I suppose you think I'm getting above myself, and I can't blame you. Maybe I am. But I can't help it. And that's why I don't think I'll be a good wife for you. However much I loved you. And I do. I really do. Oh, Billy.
Hold on, dear. There's nothing to cry about. I know you mean all right. It's only natural you should feel that way about things.
And you don't think I'm awful then, do you? Mean?
Of course I don't. Come on now, cheer up. You don't want to have red eyes on Christmas Day now, do you?
Oh, Bill, I'm sorry. Please forgive me.
Is that Queenie? Oh, hello, Mr. Gibbons. Yes, I think it was. Oh, I see. Must be a bit miserable going back to work on Christmas night, isn't it? Oh, I don't know. That's all right once you're there, you know. Aren't you coming into the drawing room? No, thanks, Mr. Gibbons. No, I'd rather not if you don't mind. All right, son. I'll walk down to the gate with you. I could do with a breath of fresh air myself. How old are you, Billy? Getting on for 22? Oh, I wish I was.
Good night, Mr. Gibbons. Night,
Good night,
Mr.
dear.
Mitchell.
Good night. Mr. Gibbons. Yes, son? If in 2 or 3 years' time, when I've worked my way up a bit, Queenie and me got married, would you mind?
Well, if Queenie wanted to, it wouldn't matter whether I minded or not. She'd get her own way, you know. She always does.
Next commission, I may be drafted overseas. By the time I get back, I ought to be earning better pay. That is, if I've been behaving myself.
Well, what does Queenie think about it?
Well, that's the trouble. I think she thinks that being a sailor's wife might be a bit hard going.
Yeah, she likes having a good time, our Queenie. But maybe she'd calm down a bit later on. Here's...
If you get the chance, Mr. Gibbons, you might sort of put in a word for me now and again.
Right there, son, I'll do my best.
Now, go on, up it. Thanks. Good night, Mr. Gibbons.
Good night.
We were just about to have the general strike in 1926. And as if that wasn't enough, the Gibbonses had got their own particular bit of trouble coming their way. Things were brought to a head about a year later. I remember it was just before the wedding of Frank Gibbons' young son, Reg. Billy, my boy, was home on leave. And the morning of the wedding, he had a long talk with Queenie.
Oh, it's you.
Yeah.
Well, it's a nice day anyhow, isn't it?
Fine.
You haven't said anything to anyone.
No, of course not.
I'm awfully sorry about last night, Bill. Really, I am.
No need to be sorry. Not your fault.
Yes, but when you've gone back, they'll all be asking me questions, and I don't know what to say.
Tell them the truth. I love you and asked you to marry me. You don't love me and said no. Simple enough, isn't it?
Sounds awful when you say it like that.
No use pretending, is there?
No, I suppose there isn't. I am sorry they're all the same. You do believe that, don't you?
Yes, I believe it all right.
I never did say I would, did I? I mean, I never let you think that...
I'm not blaming you. I told you that last night. It's just that well, I can't help feeling a bit low. It's natural enough, isn't it?
I suppose you won't write to me anymore now, will you?
You're a funny girl, I must say.
I don't see anything so very funny in that.
You want everything, don't you? You know I love you more than anyone else and want to marry you. You turn me down flat, then want me to go on writing to you. If you've taken the trouble to read my letters up to date, you might remember they was mostly about the future. Well, it's all gone now, isn't it? I'll send you a weather report every so often, if you like.
Oh, well, if you're going to turn nasty about it, there's no use saying any more, is there?
There's someone else, isn't there?
I don't know what you mean.
I mean what I say. You're in love with someone else, aren't you?
Well, it's no business of yours if I am.
You going to marry him?
No,
Why not?
that's my affair.
Is he married already?
I wish you'd leave me alone.
Is he?
Yes, he is. Now you're satisfied.
Oh, Queen. You're an awful fool. I do wish you weren't.
Who are you calling a fool? People can't help their feelings.
No, but they can have enough sense not to let their feelings get the better of them. Oh, what you're doing is wrong, whichever way you look at it. There's your mother and father to start with. It'll break their hearts if they ever find out about it. Then there's the man's wife, whoever she is. You're laying up trouble there. But most important of all is you. You won't get much out of it in the long run, and don't you fool yourself. Oh, you're not that kind of a girl, really, whatever you may think.
Looks to me as if you're on the way to mucking things up all round. For yourself and everyone else.
Thanks very much for the lecture.
All right. No good me saying any more. I'll go up and talk to Reg. Goodbye, Queen. Good luck.
Now here's Bob Mitchell to continue the story of This Happy Breed.
It was pretty plain to see that Frank Gibbons and his wife Ethel were in for a big spot of trouble with their Queenie. Billy didn't say a word about what he'd learned from her, and the whole thing came to a head on Armistice Night, November the 11th, 1927. Frank and I had been to a big British Legion do at the Albert Hall, and one way and another we'd had a few. It was gone midnight when we got back to Sycamore Road, and we were both pretty merry.
Now then, what? One more night, Ken. You and I have a thick head in the morning. Well, how about you? I'm past caring, old man. That's right. Say when. Hey, go easy. Hold it while I put the soda in. Your eyes look terrible. All swimming. Well, never you mind about my eyes. Yours don't look so good for me, eh? Oh, dear. Now I've wetted my Victoria Cross. Yeah, don't you wish you had one? Yeah, a fat lot of good it'd have done me if I had. I'd like to take this opportunity of saying that my old regiment is the finest in the world. Next to the East Surreys, it is. Here's to the Buffs. Here's to the East Surreys. And your old regiment's the finest in the world, too. That's right. Here's to the East Surreys. Here's to the Buffs. Here. What was that one that chap told us about the couple in the park? Shut up and start me off. That little so-and-so, he can't half tell him and no mistake about it. You know, it's not so much what he says as the way he said it. Dry, you know, that's what he was. Dry. That reminds me. What? One more. Hey, go easy. Go on, it'll do you the world of good. Who and I'll look silly if Ethel catches us. Well, it's my own house, isn't it? I can do as I like in it. An Englishman's home is his castle. Bungo. Bungo. Yeah. You heard from Billy lately? Yes, he writes once a week. He's in Malta now. Good old Billy. He's a fine boy. You know, I haven't said much about it, but I've often thought that maybe Billy and Queenie might wonder. Queenie, she gives me a headache, all her airs and graces. A good hiding's what she needs. That wouldn't be any use. Girls get like that. No doing anything with them. I think Billy'd stick to her whatever she did. How do you mean? He just loves her, that's all. It's funny, isn't it? Having kids and seeing what they grow up like. I'll be pushing off in a minute. Yeah. Have one more for the road. The road? Only got 3 yards to go. Yeah, well, we don't have a binge like this every day of the week. I know you've done it. Oh, dear. Well, I wish you could see your face. Yeah, quiet a minute. Listen.
And what do you think you're doing if I'm a makes so bold?
Bob was just going home.
Oh, just going home, was he?
Sorry I woke you up, Ethel.
I suppose you know what the time is, don't you?
Well, who cares? Time was meant for slaves.
You go on up to bed, Frank Gibbons. I'll have something to say to you later. What was that you broke?
It was only the poor old Johnny Walker. It's all my fault, Ethel.
You ought to be ashamed of yourselves, men of your age, coming home drunk and waking up the whole house.
You're not an old house, Ethel, old girl. You're just a little bungalow.
Oh, come on, Bob. It's time you was going home.
Yeah, now, don't be hard on him, Ethel. He's my best pal. He may be looking a bit silly, I'll admit, but he's my pal all the same. Who's looking silly? You are.
What about you?
You both look silly, but it's not only what you're going to look in the morning. Now, come on, Bob. I'm not going to stay here much.
All right, I can take you in.
Good night, Mrs. G. Good night, Sergeant. It's been a pleasure. Steady the buffs.
All right. You don't have to say nothing. I know.
Now, stop it, Frank. The next time you go to a regimental dinner, you can go to a hotel afterwards and sleep it off. I won't have it, you hear? This is my dining room. This is not a bar parlour. Go on. Get up to bed and don't make a noise either. What's this?
What's what?
This letter.
Oh, I haven't written no letters.
It's Queenie's writing.
Here. You can't open the girl's private letters.
It's addressed to you and me.
Well, I'll be blowed.
She's gone. Read it.
Who is this man? Have you ever seen him?
No.
I'll fetch her back. I'll give her the idea of her life.
Go on, find her. Don't say where she's gone.
We love each other. His wife won't divorce him. We can't live without each other. So we're going away. We'll trace her all right, don't you worry. We'll find out through the shop. It must have been there that she met him. We'll get her back.
I don't want her back. She's no child of mine. I never want to see her again as long as I live.
Don't talk like that, Ethel.
I mean it. I've done my best to bring her up to behave respectable, to be a good girl, but it hasn't been any use.
If she loves this man that much, maybe it was too strong for her. Maybe she couldn't help herself.
You don't see what she's done same way as what I do you?
Oh, I don't know.
She's always been the most trouble, that's true enough. And she's certainly never put herself out to help me the way Vi has, that's true, too. But I've cared for her just the same as I have the others, and don't you start saying I haven't. There's no use laying the blame for this at my door. What she's done on her own. And I'll never forgive her for it till the end of my days.
That was the last we heard of Queenie for a long, long time. The years were going by and our families had grown up and left us. We still had our bit of fun and our bit of tragedy too. Reg, Frank's son, and his wife were killed in a motor accident. And in 1932, Nora, my missus, died. And then, one summer, 1937, Billy came home again on leave from the Navy. He brought some news for Frank Gibbons and his missus.
What is it, Billy?
It's about Queenie.
What about her?
Does it still make you angry? Even to hear her name?
I'm not angry.
Have you seen her, Billy?
Yes, I've seen her.
How is she?
Fine.
What was it you wanted to say about Queenie, Billy?
I sympathize with how you feel, Mrs. Gibbons, really I do. And what's more, she does, too. She knows what a wrong she did in going off like that, and it didn't take her long to realize it. She hasn't had any too good a time, you know. The man she went off with went back to his wife and left her stranded in a sort of boarding house in Brussels.
How long was it before she found another man to take her on?
Ethel.
A long time. Over 3 years.
She's all right now, then, isn't she?
Yes, she's all right now.
What sort of a bad time did she have? How'd you mean?
Trying to earn a living for herself, you know, getting in and out of different jobs. She showed dresses off in a dressmaker shop for over a year. Then she got a job looking after some English children, but that didn't last long. Then she got ill with appendicitis and was taken to hospital.
Where? Where was she taken to hospital? How long ago?
Paris, about a year ago. When she was in hospital, she picked up with an old Scotswoman in the next bed. A little later on, the two of them started an old English tea room in Mentone in the south of France, you know, just for English visitors. That's where I ran into her by accident.
Is she there now?
No, she isn't there now.
Well, where is she then?
She's here,
Yeah.
How do you mean? Here.
next door with Dad.
Billy.
We were married last week in the registry office in Plymouth.
Married?
Well, I've always loved her, you know. Always said I'd wait for her.
Oh, son, I can't believe it.
Hello, Mum. So you've come back, have you? You bad girl.
Yes, Mum.
Nice way to behave, I must say. Upsetting me like this.
And that's the way Queenie came home. The year after that, I decided the time had come for me to move from Sycamore Road. Now that Billy was married, the place was too big for me. Although I knew we'd be seeing each other lots and lots of times, it wasn't easy saying goodbye to Frank.
I shall miss you a devil of a lot.
Same here. You'll be popping down to see me, won't you?
You bet. Happy days, old pal.
Happy days, old pal.
And a year later, it was Frank's turn to say goodbye to dear old Sycamore Road. He and Ethel had been at number 17 for 20 years. That's a long time. I think Frank was almost sorry he'd decided to move.
I shall miss that garden.
Well, it's your own fault. You're the one who's wanted to move.
I know.
You'll have the balcony anyway. You can put window boxes all round.
Window boxes. You know, sometime a bit later on, when I stop working, we might take a little place in the country, mightn't we?
When might that be, may I ask?
Oh, I don't know, in a few years, maybe.
We'll see about that when the time comes.
Yeah, I think you'd like the country. I know you're frightened about it being a bit too quiet, but when people get older, they don't mind so much about being quiet.
Not all as old yet, you know.
Funny, isn't it?
What is it?
Well, you'd think when you take everything out of a room, it'd look bigger. But this one looks smaller.
Must be glad to be out of it.
So shall I. Sorry to, though, in a way.
Yeah. Well, we better be going.
Been a long time, isn't it? I don't mind how many flats we move in, where we go or what we do, so long as I've got you.
Don't talk so silly.
Well, that's the end of our story. It's August 1939. Number 17 Sycamore Road, Clapham Common, London SW15 is empty. The Gibbonses have gone. What happened to them? Well, that's really up to your imagination, isn't it? So I'll say, ta-da for now.
Our thanks are due to Stanley Holloway, Celia Johnson, John Mills, Robert Newton, and Kay Walsh, who appeared in this special radio adaptation of the Cine Guild production of Noel Card's This Happy Breed. Till our next meeting, when another famous British film will be presented with members of the original cast, this is Leslie Mitchell wishing you goodbye and good luck.
Casual Slaughters by Perry Pontac, with Peter Jeffrey as Sir Nicholas Ovalmere and Maureen Lipman as Nottage.
You play the cello so well, Nottage. You really should study it someday with a proper teacher. Perhaps even go into it full time.
I think not, Sir Nicholas. I'm too much the devoted amateur for that. Rather the same, if I may say, as you are with your detecting.
I understand, of course. Well, thank you again for the serenade.
Not at all, Sir Nicholas. And how are you feeling now?
Oh, all right, I think, Nottage. Ribs and spine still a trifle bruised, pins a bit wobbly, perhaps, but now that the neck brace is off, I'm quite myself again.
Thank heavens. A lucky escape after all you've been through. But despite your great success in apprehending the culprit.
Quite.
And what a fascinating case it was, Sir Nicholas. Full of subtle clues, mysterious motives, unlikely suspects, eccentric aristocrats, humble working folk, sinister foreigners, magnificent country estates, cosy old pubs and quaint country villages.
True. Very true.
And yet, Sir Nicholas, there is still one thing about the case that I don't understand.
Is there? And what is that, Nottage?
How did you know that the murderer was an unemployed Tunisian chiropodist with a deviated septum and a fondness for Eccles cakes?
An excellent question, Nottage. At first, it was merely what our American friends would call a hunch.
I see.
But it soon became obvious that the only true clues were provided by the absent witnesses, as it were. Do you remember the nanny with a squint who, according to Colonel Dunsmore, went for a melancholy walk along the seawall every evening after sunset to practice her Esperanto, she said?
Yes, Sir Nicholas?
And the way that the son of the family, little Norris, always referred to his sisters as Cato, Catullus, and Caligula, showing a knowledge of the ancient world unusual in one so young and so ignorant.
Yes?
And the look of anger that flashed momentarily in the eyes of Madame Zlabowski whenever the subject of sweet potatoes was mentioned.
Yes, I see, Sir Nicholas. It all fits together perfectly. The smell of lime in the library, the ashes of a legal document in the fireplace, the cannonball at the foot of the stairs. I mean, it could only mean one thing.
True, Nottage. And what is that?
Well, simply that... Oh, pardon me, sir. Sir Nicholas Ovalmere's residence, the old manor house, Mernscottle on the Sturch, his private secretary, Velma Nottage, speaking. One moment, please. It's Lady Babbage.
Oh, is it? Aye. Good afternoon, my dear Lady Babbage. I must say again how very much I enjoyed your fancy dress ball last night. Surely one of the great social occasions of 1933. And your costume, your ladyship, so very... I see. I'll be there immediately. Nottage, get the car. You must drive me to Glamara Hall at once. Lord Babbage has been receiving death threats, written in his own blood.
Yes, Sir Nicholas.
I only hope we arrive there in time.
In time? In time for what, Sir Nicholas?
I wish I knew, Nottage. I very much wish I knew.
There soon, sir. One thing I don't quite understand. How does Lady Babbage know that the death threats are written in her husband's blood?
Lady Babbage is an enthusiastic amateur scientist with an extensive knowledge of bodily fluids of all sorts. Indeed, she recently wrote a brief paper on the subject of bile, to be distributed, of course, amongst only her closest friends. When she saw the blood on the notes, she thought it looked familiar and examined it under a microscope.
I see.
Her ladyship became interested in such things while serving as an amateur surgeon on the Belgian front during the war, specializing in mass amputations. None of that anesthesia nonsense back then. It took nerves of steel. A remarkable woman.
Indeed. Marvelous country around here. Rolling green hills, old stone walls, ivy-covered cottages, shepherds and milkmaids standing in the shade of handsome elms, with little lambs frisking on every side. So picturesque.
I suppose it is. Ah, there's Glamara Hall. Impressive, isn't it?
Mainly Jacobean, I believe, with Gothic arches, Norman spandrels, and Tudor window boxes.
That's the butler, Minskin, at the door, talking to her ladyship's nephew, Roderick, a bank manager in Evesham, as I recall. I wonder why he's here. Pull in over there, would you?
Certainly, Sir Nicholas.
Right. Ah, Minskin. Please tell her ladyship I've arrived.
Very good, Sir Nicholas.
Good afternoon, Roderick.
Good afternoon, Sir Nicholas.
I believe congratulations are in order, Roderick. You're married now, so I'm told.
Oh, yes. Have been for quite a while.
Anyone I know?
No. A foreigner. From Silesia. Her name is Urga. Not exactly our sort. Raised as a child in the forest, by wolves, curiously enough.
Indeed.
Yes. Formerly known as the Wolf Girl of Upper Hissendorf. She's settled down a good deal since then.
Has she?
Yes.
Well, my very best wishes to you both, you and Urga.
Thank you so much, Sir Nicholas. Must be going. Do excuse me.
Lady Babbage, this is my private secretary in Nottage.
How do you do? Oh, honoured, your ladyship. Ah, sherry. Thank you, Minskin. And bring us some macaroons, will you? And a pot of that boysenberry marmalade Sir Nicholas likes so much.
Your ladyship.
Well, how are you?
Fine, Sir Nicholas. Never better.
Excellent. I met your nephew Roderick as I arrived.
Oh, don't speak to me of that young man. A great disappointment. We had such hopes for him. Being childless, Lord Babbage and I... Well, you understand, I'm sure.
Of course. But haven't you a niece as well?
No, not anymore. Magda was carried off by pneumonia in Ottawa last September.
Oh.
A great loss to the world of fucoidal toxicology. She was an international authority, you know. Fucoidal toxicology?
The study of poisonous seaweeds, Nottage, largely occurring, if the popular press is to be believed, in the waters off Malaya and the Tasmanian archipelago.
I see. Magda left her complete collection of specimens, easily the largest in Shropshire, to a local resident, a man named Ernest Stello. I can't imagine why. Stello? The chap with the stammer and the goatee, who plays the concertina and lives in the converted windmill? No, his twin brother, the vicar. A handsome man with a lantern jaw and piercing grey eyes. Such a comfort in difficult times.
Now, to these threatening notes, Lady Babbage. Has Lord Babbage any enemies?
Ainsley? Has he any friends would be a more searching question. He doesn't suffer fools gladly, and he finds wise people even more objectionable. He has, alas, none of your native charm, my dear Nicky, nor your persuasive elegance. More sherry?
Thank you.
Not it? Yes, thank you, your ladyship.
And now, Lady Babbage, I'm going to ask you a single question concerning these death threats. I want you to think long and hard and deeply before answering. I will allow you several minutes to consider your reply. A very great deal. Perhaps the key to this case and to many others of a similar nature may hang on your words. Please listen carefully.
I will, of course, Sir Nicholas.
What, or who, or indeed whom, or why, or for that matter when and where and whither, was the very first...
Your ladyship! Your ladyship! What is it, Laura?
Oh, your ladyship, he's dead! Marshall is dead!
Dead?
Yes, Mom. He's been disemboweled in the conservatory.
Disemboweled?
Poor Lord Babbage. My deepest condolences, your ladyship. He were a good man in his way.
Ainsley dead? Is
this true, Minskin?
Unhappily, I must concur, your ladyship. I was returning from the pantry with the macaroons and marmalade when, glancing for a moment into the conservatory, I beheld the lamentable scene young Lola has just described. His lordship disemboweled, and I regret to add, his contents scattered willy-nilly about the room.
Indeed, Minskin. Ainsley. Dead.
My girl, telephone the local constabulary immediately. Chief Inspector Wardle, and be sure to mention my name, Ovalmere, with 1 V.
Yes, Sir Nicholas.
And Minskin, instruct the staff to leave everything in the conservatory just as it is. They are not to move so much as a single one of his lordship's bowels. Is that clear?
Yes, Sir Nicholas, I understand.
Ainsley.
Now, my dear Lady Babbage, I appreciate this must be a difficult time for you, but it is imperative that you control your feelings for the moment and answer a few questions. As you will have gathered, this has been a particularly odious murder. Brutal, savage, obscene. Indeed, in my long career, dealing as I do with... how does Shakespeare put it? Carnal, bloody, and unnatural acts, accidental judgments, casual slaughters. Yet I've never heard of a killing of such a malevolent and bestial nature. Hideous, foul, almost beyond belief. Is it not, Nottage?
Quite so, Sir Nicholas. I am deeply revolted, if I may say so.
And therefore it is more than usually vital to apprehend the culprit with all possible speed. Now, have you seen any suspicious characters in the area recently? Beggars, anarchists, Frenchmen, Jews, gypsies, people in disguise.
Oh, look out.
No! Lady Babbage.
Perhaps some smelling salt, sir?
Yes. Capital idea, Nottage. Ah, Minskin, smelling salts, please.
But, sir, I'm afraid I don't know where...
Well,
Lady
then, a
Babbage-
dram of whiskey, man.
Yes.
And do hurry, Miskin.
Yes. Here we are.
Good.
Yeah.
Yes. She seems to be coming round, Nottage.
Yes.
Your cummerbund, Minskin. Your cummerbund is stained with blood.
So it is.
No.
Indeed, quite dripping with the stuff.
True, very true. What is the meaning of this, Minskin?
No.
He's trying to escape, Sir Nicholas. Look, he's lumbering away towards the French windows.
So I see. With your permission, Lady Babbage, I shall race through the drawing room after Minskin execute a flying tackle and foil his escape.
By all means, Sir Nicholas, please do.
Thank you.
Good show, Sir Nicholas. Jolly good show.
Excellent work, Sir Nicholas.
Thank you, Chief Inspector Wardle.
Now, we'll just take a few more statements, then gather up the remains of his lordship. Have you had a peep at them?
Indeed, I have. Fascinating.
And then we'll rough up that brute Minskin for a while and drag him down to the station. From what we've discovered, he's our man.
And may I thank you too, Sir Nicholas?
Not at all, Your Ladyship. My pleasure. Come, Dottie.
Right with you, sir. Congratulations again, sir.
Thank you, Nottage. And yet...
What is it, Sir Nicholas? Surely you can have no doubt about Minskin's guilt.
I don't know, Nottage. I just don't know.
But, sir, there was blood on his cummerbund. And you heard him confess his guilt to the police. There were the entries in Minskin's diary for today. Luncheon served at 1:30, his lordship disemboweled at 4:15, sherry at 5. Creeped stealthily from the house at 10:30, board steamer for South America at midnight. With a ticket for the voyage in Minskin's wallet. His suitcase was full of stolen valuables from the house. Practice copies of his threatening notes were discovered under the mattress. A quantity of his lordship's blood, apparently drawn from his veins as he slept, and clearly labelled, was found in Minskin's inkwell. A manual on the finer points of disembowelment lay on his bedside table. The man is of foreign descent. What further proof do you need?
I don't know, Nottage. It's somehow all too perfect, too easy, too neat, too beyond reasonable doubt.
If I may say so, sir, I don't agree. As far as I'm concerned, it's as clear as day the man is guilty.
My dear Nottage, contrary to popular opinion, days are not always clear. There is an island off the coast of Chile, for example, where the volcanoes regularly belch such thick and heavy smoke that it hovers in the air all day, an impenetrable mist. Indeed, the only light the place has ever known came on Whitsuntide last year, when all the volcanoes simultaneously erupted, destroying the island and sinking it and its luckless inhabitants deep in the sea.
Indeed.
And yet, my dear girl, thank you. Once again, your frank, vigorous ignorance has led me to the truth.
Sir Nicholas?
As you will recall, Nottage, according to Minskin's diary, he was boarding a steamship at midnight for Hasta Fuego, the very South American island I've just been describing, and which, of course, no longer exists. Clearly, such a voyage is quite impossible, and therefore the ticket and the diary entry are both forgeries. Turn the car round. We shall have to return to Glamada Hall immediately. Pray God we're not too late.
Too late? Too late for what, Sir Nicholas?
I'm not sure, my dear Nottage. I'm not sure at all.
What's that, Sir Nicholas? You say the Minskin is innocent?
Quite, Chief Inspector Wardle. I think that on closer examination you'll find that the blood on his cummerbund is in truth merely boysenberry marmalade, which spilled on him as he brought it from the pantry. The diary entries and threatening notes are, I suspect, not in his handwriting, nor will his fingerprints be found on the stolen booty.
Check all this out, will you, Cranford? Sir? But if this is true, Sir Nicholas, why did Minskin confess?
Out of loyalty, Chief Inspector. He plainly thought that Lord Babbage had killed himself. A great family disgrace, not to be borne. And so took the responsibility, as it were, of the murder on himself.
Remarkable.
Well, it's not surprising. I have any number of menials on my own staff who wouldn't hesitate to put themselves in the gravest danger in the hope of saving me from some minor embarrassment, much less from the shame of self-slaughter. Nottage, here, for example.
Oh, yes, sir. I'd be honoured.
But could it have been suicide, Sir Nicholas?
Possibly. Lord Babbage spent several years in the audience where, so they say, self-disembowelment is rather a way of life. But the random scattering of the innards and the heavy bruise on the forehead are not at all consistent with such an hypothesis.
So Minskin was framed?
It seems likely.
But by who?
Oh, I wish I knew, Chief Inspector. I very much wish I knew. We must question Lady Babbage again. Where is she?
I'm afraid I don't know, Sir Nicholas.
Gentlemen?
Ah, Reverend Stallow. Have you seen her ladyship?
She has retired to her bedchamber, Sir Nicholas, to rest and to mourn.
Indeed. An exhausting day for her, no doubt.
Truly.
Reverend Stallow, may I ask precisely why you are here?
Simply to comfort Lady Babbage in her desolation, Sir Nicholas. She and Lord Babbage regularly attended services at St. Ubaldur's in the village, and I often come here to preach in their private chapel.
Indeed.
No doubt it will be my sad duty to preach the funeral sermon on Lord Babbage. I shall, I think, speak on the spiritual value of wealth, taking as my text Matthew 19. It is easier for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven than for a needle to go through the eye of a camel. My own translation, Sir Nicholas.
You were close to their late niece, Magda, were you not, Reverend Stallow?
Magda? I was her spiritual advisor during a difficult period for her, nothing more.
Pardon me, gentlemen. I thought you might like some tea.
Oh, thank you, Vera. An excellent idea, eh, Nottage?
Rather. I shall pour it, if I may. A cup, Chief Inspector?
Please.
Reverend Stallow?
Thank you, yes.
What an unusual fragrance.
Indeed.
Quite so. Ah, don't drink the tea, anyone.
But...
Look, the leaves in the pot are curiously autumnal in hue. Yellow and black and pale and hectic red. I wonder... Yola, Is this the tea usually served at Glamara Hall?
No, Sir Nicholas. The family always drinks the Babbage blend. This was delivered by mistake last week. It's called Cash Liquor Superb, I think. And...
Yes, Yara?
Oh, sir, I did bring his lordship a pot of this tea shortly before he... Well, I thought he might like something different.
And who provides the tea for the hall?
One of the tea merchants in the village.
Which one? Think, my girl. It may be a matter of the gravest importance.
Pardon me, Sir Nicholas.
Minskin, so they released you already.
Yes, thank you so much, sir. The tea shop in question is Swainley's in the village on the old Darvington Road, purveyor of tea to the Babbages for centuries.
Thank you, Minskin. Come, Nottage, you must drive me to the village and we must hurry. Indeed, I fear it may already be too late.
Too late? Too late for what, Sir Nicholas?
I'm not sure, Chief Inspector. I'm not sure at all.
Afternoon, sir. Madam.
My good man, I want some information about a certain blend of tea you recently delivered to Glamara Hall.
I'm sorry, sir, but I can't possibly...
Not their usual blend, but Cash Liquor Superb.
Cash Liquor? If so, a great mistake. Sending such a tea to Lord and Lady Babbage. Thank you so much for bringing it to my notice. Are you interested in purchasing the tea yourself, sir?
I'm interested only in knowing which of your customers regularly purchase it.
I'm sorry, sir, but I never reveal the names of my regular customers. In this business, confidentiality is everything.
Allow me to impress upon you that I am Sir Nicholas Overmere, baronet of the old manor house, Mernskottel-on-the-Sturch, aristocratic amateur sleuth and leaseholder of several properties on this quaint village street, among them this little shop of yours.
Oh, of course. One moment, Sir Nicholas. Yeah. Mother, bring the regular customer's account book, and do hurry.
Yes. Here it is, son.
Well, set it on the counter.
Yes, son.
You may go, Mother. I'll give you a shout when we finish with the book.
Yes, of course. Oh, goodbye, all. So charming to have met you.
Now, let me see. Cash Liquor Superb. Ah, yes. Produced at the Malaguna Tea Plantation, Sumatra. Goes to only one customer, a Professor W. Erdmore Plins, Fellow of Wortley College, Cambridge.
Oh, indeed. Why, the man was my Anglo-Saxon tutor back in my university days. Come, Nottage, we must go to Cambridge immediately. There's not a moment to lose.
Yes, Sir Nicholas, of course. What a charming place Cambridge is, Sir Nicholas. Spacious squares, lofty spires, mellow domes. Students everywhere in their black robes and waterboards. Some of them sprawled on the lawns translating Euclid. Others on the daffodil-strewn meadows, acting out scenes from the Fairy Queen as swans float gracefully down the willow-fringed river. So picturesque.
Yes, I suppose it is.
Oh, and look. High in that Gothic tower, an old white-haired pedant is reading, if I'm not mistaken, an illuminated manuscript of the early 13th century by the light of a single candle. Ooh, and now it seems he's being interrupted by an angry young woman.
Why, that's Professor W. Erdmore Plins, my old tutor. Quick, Nottage! Up the ancient stairway!
Oh.
I'm sorry, Miss Filcrum. There is no question of my interfering in the matter. Now, if you have nothing more to say...
I warn you, Professor. I have friends in high places, and I'm used to getting my way.
My dear Miss Filcrum, I must object.
I also have friends in low places. Foul, heartless creatures who strike in the night. Malevolence is their métier, Professor. Torture their talent, and death their dear delight.
Are you threatening me, Miss Filcrum?
Professor, I am...
Professor Erdmore Plins?
Yes?
Goodbye, Professor.
I'm so sorry. An aggrieved former undergraduate, unhappy with her exam results, it seems. Oh, Sir Nicholas, is it not?
Yes. Hello, Professor.
Sir Nicholas, young Ovalmere, my dear, dear fellow.
And this is Nottage.
Oh, delighted, Miss Nottage.
Professor.
My dear Ovalmere, how can I help you? Some vexing question on a point of Anglo-Saxon text, perhaps?
I'm afraid, Professor, that I seek information in my capacity as sleuth rather than scholar.
I see. But how can I...
I gather, Professor, that you are a tea drinker with most particular preferences. Indeed, that you favour a blend called cash liquor superb.
Quite so, Sir Nicholas.
A strange tea, of singular hue and fragrance. And taste, I should imagine.
The taste is most foul, I fear, and the tea quite undrinkable.
But then why...
Why do I continue to order it? A year or so ago, while on a bicycle tour of the Sturch Valley, your part of Shropshire, I believe, Sir Nicholas, I stopped in a tea shop, and, intrigued by the label, I purchased several pounds of the stuff. Back in my rooms, I opened the packets and found in each of them, deep amongst the tea leaves, a brief, mysterious note, a kind of desperate plea. Save me, rescue me, free me, do help me, please. That sort of thing, all written in blood.
In blood?
Yes. I've continued to order the tea in hope of collecting the entire series. Look, here are some of them.
That's very interesting. This is the handwriting of an upper-middle-class English female, don't you agree, Nottage?
Oh, yes, Sir Nicholas. Most probably educated, I should think, in Sussex. Look at the loops in the H's and P's and the frequency of semicolons.
Excellent, Nottage.
Though there's one note I don't understand. It reads, great danger to A.B.
Let me see. A.B. Ainsley Babbage, his late lordship's name.
Indeed, Sir Nicholas.
Nottage, we must leave immediately for Sumatra.
Sumatra?
Right. You have, I believe, an aeroplane pilot's license?
Yes, Sir Nicholas. Only a learner's. I received it last month, so I can buzz over to Deauville now and then for Coquille Saint-Jacques, that sort of thing. You know, sir, with a gentleman friend.
Ah, and is there such a person, Nottage?
Not at present, Sir Nicholas.
But weren't you engaged to be married at one time? He died, I seem to recall, in mysterious circumstances.
Not particularly mysterious, Sir Nicholas. Bertrand was doing a unicycle tour of the Hebrides for charity when he was struck by lightning. These things happen.
Rotten luck, though.
Poor fellow.
We shall drive now to Droitwich Aerodrome, Nottage, where we'll hire a suitable machine which you can pilot to Sumatra.
But, Sir Nicholas, I had hoped we could have a little tete-a-tete this afternoon in Anglo-Saxon over a flagon of mead, perhaps, in the Great Hall.
Very tempting, of course. Another time.
But...
We dare not delay, woman. Indeed, it may be too late already.
Of course, Sir Nicholas.
Goodbye, Professor.
Goodbye, young Ovalmere. Nottage. And good luck, my dear, dear fellow.
La Belle France below us, if I'm not mistaken, Nottage?
Yes, Sir Nicholas, I believe so.
Continue due southwest for a while, then make a sharp left at the Pyrenees and carry on over the Po Valley in the general direction of the Moldavian plains.
Have you flown before, Sir Nicholas?
Yes, Nottage. I was a fighter pilot in the Great War.
Were you, sir? I had no idea.
Oh, I seldom speak about it. Indeed, I don't believe I've ever mentioned it to anyone before. So many of my fellow pilots perished in the conflict, Nottage, shot down by the Hun. Several of them caught off guard while writing war poems. Sonnets, mainly.
Dear me.
We shall have to refuel in Bhutan and the Bay of Bengal. With any luck, we'll catch the prevailing winds over Omsk and arrive at Sumatra International Airport around Wednesday morning. We shall then hire a rickshaw to take us to the Maranguna tea plantation. I only hope we're there in time.
In time? In time for what, Sir Nicholas?
I've no idea, my dear Nottage. I have no idea at all.
What a fascinating place Sumatra is, Sir Nicholas. Lemurs, spider monkeys, and great bearded sloths hanging from every tree, and dainty maidens with parasols and fans wading through the lily ponds. So exotic.
I suppose so. And yet this rickshaw man of ours is so damnably slow. Pull faster, man.
I'm not sure he understands you, sir.
Unfortunately, I never mastered the vulgar dialects of East Sumatra. Faster, man, faster! Oh, I know. Nottage, hand me that cylindrical leather case in my valise, would you?
Certainly, sir. What is it?
My whip. I always carry it with me for just such occasions. Ah, now we're moving at a cracking pace. You see, Nottage, dialects may differ, but the language of the lash is understood in every land. A useful tip for the first-time traveller in the Orient.
Yes, Sir Nicholas.
We should arrive at the tea plantation very soon indeed. Nottage, I want you to go in there alone and speak to the overseer. People can be very secretive in this part of the world. Use all your feminine wiles, such as they are, to prize whatever information you can about the owner of the plantation.
Yes, Sir Nicholas.
The overseer will almost certainly be a countryman of ours, probably from the provinces, a man starved for English female company who may well respond to even your advances. It's a shame you're not wearing a veil to add a touch of mystery. Still, do your best.
Very well, Sir Nicholas. I shall try. Hello?
Hello. Oh, come in.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, miss.
Warm weather we're having.
True, miss. Though a brief monsoon is expected just after tea, I believe.
Oh, is it? Ah.
May I help you?
Perhaps so. I wonder if you'd be kind enough to tell me the name of the owner of the Malanguna tea plantation.
Certainly, miss. It's owned by the nabob of Kashleker.
I see. And his home address, please?
His palace is just down the road. It's on the right, past the grove of the sacred banyan trees. It's a large building. Courtyard on the left, elephant stables on the right. You can't miss it. Knock twice and enter. Take a brochure if you'd like.
Oh, thank you so much. I do appreciate all your help. Goodbye. The owner of the plantation is the nabob of Kashleker, sir. His palace is just down the road.
Excellent work, Nottage. And a brochure as well, I see. Well, do get in.
Yes, Sir Nicholas.
Walk on. Walk on.
A sumptuous palace, is it not, sir? The interior of the entrance hall all silver and vermilion. And look, Sir Nicholas, at the far end of the hall, walking towards us, a man in a crimson turban, lime green jodhpurs, an overblouse of cloth of gold of tissue, and silken sky blue slippers which turn up at the toes like crescent moons. So colourful.
It must be the nabob himself. Let me do the talking, Nottage. I've long been a student of Royal Sumatran dialects. Kerstov Nitubra, Mistausam.
Pastiv Nitubra.
Uka, Devlan, Smustaka.
Valdi Lefambru, Sanikva Lust. Oh, Valmir. Is it you, my dear chap?
What?
Don't you recognize me, Ovalmir? Nastan Kambuf Tsaidin, the heir to the nabobship of Kashleker. We were at Wellington together, old fellow.
Oh, is it you, my dear Dusky? Nottage, Dusky and I were at school together. How are you, old man?
Fine, thank you. And you, Ovalmir?
Oh, excellent, thank you, Dusky. This is my private secretary, Nottage Dusky, the nabob of Kashleker.
Honoured, Your Eminence.
How do you do? Ah, Miss Nottage, such merry japes Ovalmir and I had at Wellington. You have no idea. One was always being mocked in the shower or laughed at in chapel or punched on the playing fields. One had not before experienced the famous British schoolboy sense of humour, but one grew to relish it soon enough. And what brings you to Sumatra, my dear bloke?
Idle curiosity, just looking around. Well, your tea plantation seems to be thriving, old fellow.
A great success, Ovalmir.
Yet one would hardly think that the tea trade alone would allow you such luxurious surroundings and such opulent garments?
Would one not, my dear Ovalmere?
No. Nor can I account for the many banners hanging in the courtyard proclaiming in High Sumatran, big sale on Tuesday, blonde's a speciality. Well, Dusky?
As a fellow Wellingtonian, you will, I know, respect the secrecy of anything I tell you.
Of course, Dusky.
I also have a little sideline, my dear Ovalmere. Young women, English society beauties, mainly blue-eyed, rose-lipped, petal-cheeked virgins visiting the colonies, abducted by my agents and auctioned every month on the palace grounds. We get quite a crowd here, you'll be surprised.
I see.
Most profitable. Though it can be an expensive operation, housing, feeding and caring for the girls, so we encourage them to earn their keep. Nothing too rigorous. Packing tea, for example.
Very resourceful.
Now, may I offer you a hookah and a chalice of our famous Sumatran kumquat liqueur?
I fear not, Dusky. Nottage and I must be going.
Oh, but surely not so soon, my dear chap.
I'm sorry, but you see, I've become a world-famous amateur sleuth, working at the moment on a particularly baffling case. Perhaps we'll come by on our next visit.
I would be honoured. I shall call a servant to show you out.
No, we'll find our own way. Thank you. Goodbye, Dusky.
Goodbye, my dear friend. So lovely to see you again. Goodbye, Nottage.
Your Eminence. I don't think this is the way we came in, Sir Nicholas.
When we entered Nottage, I thought I heard the sound of upper-middle-class whimpering coming from down this corridor, perhaps. Now, listen. Do you hear it?
Yes, Sir Nicholas. I believe I do. It's someone behind this door, I think.
Right. It's locked. Lend me a hairpin, will you, Nottage, so I can pick the lock?
Certainly, Sir Nicholas. But who can it be?
An English society beauty, I expect. Something to do with the white slave trade.
Indeed.
Ah, good.
Oh, why, it's Amanda Boreaster Lee, if I'm not mistaken. One of the leading beauties of the London scene a few years ago.
Yes, I am.
I once read about you in the Debutante Daily Echo. A serene girl with golden hair and a flawless complexion, fond of hockey and hot air ballooning, and devoted to her Afghan hound, Merriman Spintex III.
But who are you?
Sir Nicholas Ovalmere, my dear.
And Nottage. Come to save you.
Oh, excellent.
But what a dismal room this is, Miss Boreaster Lee. Cobwebs on the ceiling, slime on the walls, with mongoose droppings in the corners. So gloomy. And you're wearing a ball and chain.
Quite.
I shall release you from it immediately, my dear.
Oh, thank you, Sir Nicholas.
Sorry to be a nuisance, Nottage, but may I borrow your nail file?
Of course, sir. How long have you been here, Miss Boreaster Lee?
I don't know. It's been simply ghastly. I'm chained here for hours every day, except when I'm taken to the tea vault to do a little packing. I've been stuffing notes, desperate pleas for help, in amongst the tea leaves.
We know. That is what has led us here.
There is a rumour that I'm to be put up for auction next Tuesday. Your arrival could not have been more timely.
I'm pleased to hear it. Damn difficult lock, this. Well, quite intriguing.
Pardon me, Sir Nicholas, but there's just one thing I don't understand.
Yes, Nottage.
What precisely is the connection between Miss Boreaster Lee's captivity here and the murder of Lord Babbage? I must confess I'm quite baffled on this point.
An excellent question, Nottage. Perhaps we should let Miss Boreaster Lee provide us with the answer.
Connection? None that I know of. I'm very sorry to learn of his lordship's death, of course. A fine and distinguished man, I have no doubt. But I'm afraid I've never heard of him before.
No?
No.
But one of your notes, written in blood, read, great danger to A.B., the late Lord Babbage's initials.
A.B. are also my initials, Miss Nottage. Amanda Boreaster Lee. And my notes, I'm afraid, weren't written in blood, just good, strong tea.
So it's merely coincidence. The murder of Lord Babbage, the delivery of the tea at Kilmarnock Hall, and your being the prisoner of my old school chum, the nabob of Cashlicker.
I should think so, Sir Nicholas.
Oh, I see. Nottage, we've been wasting precious time. Here's your nail file. We must leave Sumatra immediately. There's not a moment to lose.
Indeed, Sir Nicholas.
Yes. Well, do come along.
But surely we can't abandon Miss Boreas to Lee.
Oh, surely not, Sir Nicholas.
In the excitement of the hunt, my dear Nottage, one must pursue the fox at full gallop and not be drawn aside by the odd rabbit or vole that happens to bob up somewhere along the margin of the chase. And yet, Miss Boreas to Lee, let me assure you, you have my full sympathy. May I suggest that you write to your Member of Parliament? Now let us go, Nottage. We must hail a rickshaw to the airport and return to England.
Very well, Sir Nicholas.
Once in Shropshire, I shall assemble all the suspects and identify at last the murderer of Lord Babbage.
Will you, Sir Nicholas? And if I may ask, who is the murderer?
I wish I knew, Nottage. I only wish I knew.
Everyone is assembled in the great ballroom, Sir Nicholas.
Thank you, Minskin. Let us enter, Nottage.
What a splendid room, Sir Nicholas. Such immense proportions, with paintings of the classical gods on the walls and hanging from the richly carved ceiling fretted with gold, a great chandelier of rubies and diamonds. So magnificent.
Yes, I suppose it is. Your attention, please. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for coming. This has been, I confess, the most puzzling of crimes. Indeed, the murder of Lord Babbage seems to have been quite motiveless. I have therefore assembled here today everyone in the vicinity who seems to have had no motive. Such a crowd, 112 in all, I believe, is unusually large for a group of murder suspects. So I am indebted to Lady Babbage for allowing us the use of the great ballroom here at Kilmarnock Hall.
Not at all, Sir Nicholas. My pleasure.
We shall begin with a roll call. Nottage?
Thank you, Sir Nicholas. Lady Babbage.
Here.
Thank you, your ladyship. Minskin, the butler.
Here, madam.
Laura, the maid.
Here.
Roderick, Lady Babbage's nephew.
Here.
And his wife, Urga, the former wolf girl of Upper Hissendorf. The Reverend Stallow.
Yeah?
And his twin brother, Gilbert.
Yeah?
Mr. Swainley, purveyor of tea.
Here?
And his enfeebled mother, Dillis.
Here.
Chief Inspector Wardle.
Here, Ma'am.
Professor Erdmore Plins of Wortley College, Cambridge.
Here?
And his embittered former student, Miss Filcrum.
Here.
Plus servants, retainers, members of staff, tenant farmers, ploughboys, stable lads, blacksmiths, chimney sweeps, plumbers, publicans, shopkeepers, librarians, estate agents, schoolmasters, post office mistresses, tea room proprietors, and the Lord Mayor. Lord Mayor. Yes, all present, I see. Back to you, Sir Nicholas.
Thank you, Nottage. As I say, a most mysterious crime, ladies and gentlemen, and with a wealth of suspects, though each of them without a motive, and I fear with precious little opportunity. Among them, you, Miss Filcrum.
Aye, Sir Nicholas.
At the time of Lord Babbage's murder, you were undergoing a course of hydrotherapy at a health spa near Rotherham, were you not?
Quite right, I was.
And you, Reverend Stallow.
Yes?
You, Reverend Stallow, were singing the Messiah with the Uttoxeter Choral Society at the Freemasons' Hall, Swanage. A basso profundo, I believe.
Indeed so, Sir Nicholas.
And you, Professor Erdmore Plins, you were far away as well, tasting the delights of a special Beowulf weekend in Kidderminster.
Quite so, young Ovalmere.
Everyone, it seems, is beyond suspicion. For example, you, young Roderick.
Aye, Sir Nicholas.
At the time of the murder, here at the Hall, now established as the evening of April the 18th last, during the fancy dress ball, though the body in the conservatory was not discovered until the following day, you, young Roderick, We're in Evesham, I believe, addressing a conference of fellow bank managers at the Pilbeam Hotel, the Casbah Room.
Yes?
Addressing them on the subject of responsible accountancy in modern banking. Well, Roderick? Roderick?
All right. All right, I did it. I did it, I did it.
Did what, Roderick?
Oh, embezzled funds, Miss Nottage. From my bank. Been doing it for years. But you see, it was only to feed my obsession. That is, to feed my wife.
Your wife?
Yes. You must understand, as the former wolf girl of Upper Hissendorf, Urga is used to a very specific diet. Boar, bear, peacock, owl, great tufted bustard, elk, Silesian muskox, Swabian marmoset, items not locally available and which are shipped to us by our suppliers in Eastern Europe at a cost which I fear is far beyond the range of my humble income.
Is this true, madam? I see.
Well, interesting in its way, of course, but hardly relevant to the murder of Lord Babbage.
Sorry, Sir Nicholas, but at least this absurd masquerade is over. Over and done with, eh, Urga?
Masquerade, did you say? Masquerade? My dear Nottage, I know at last the name of the murderer.
Do you, Sir Nicholas?
Who is it, Sir Nicholas?
The assailant of Lord Babbage in the conservatory was a common burglar.
A burglar, sir?
Did you notice, Chief Inspector, the mark on his lordship's forehead? It was the impression of the words Club Deluxe, the trade name of a brand of cosh much favoured by modern burglars, and as such engraved on each of the products.
I see, Sir Nicholas, a burglar. Oh, but surely he's not here.
No, though I suspect he's in your custody already. Have you recently arrested anyone for possession of some items stolen from a conservatory? A leather album of pressed flowers, perhaps?
Well, indeed, yes. Someone was trying to flog such a thing on the high street without a licence and was picked up, well, only yesterday, I believe.
Yes.
But how did you know?
A foreign sort of person, I have no doubt. Such crimes are invariably perpetrated by aliens, anarchists, Frenchmen, Jews, gypsies, someone of that sort.
Not in this case, Sir Nicholas. He's an Englishman. Local fellow, born and bred. A Mr. Julian Fortescue.
Indeed, Chief Inspector. Well, merely the exception that proves the rule.
Now that I come to think of it, everyone we arrest in this village seems to be English.
Oh?
Yes, but surely, Chief Inspector, this only demonstrates the soundness of Sir Nicholas's rule, having been proved over and over again by so many exceptions.
Yeah, of course. So, Sir Nicholas, the burglar Fortescue is our murderer?
No, he is merely our assailant. The killer is quite another. Consider, Chief Inspector. It is the evening of the fancy dress ball at Lamara Hall, held in this very ballroom, where one of the many guests is himself dressed as a burglar. In the conservatory in the West Wing, Lord Babbage is leafing through an album when he is struck on the head by a real burglar, your Mr. Fortescue. One of the party goers, a woman in fancy dress, having heard a noise, enters the conservatory, observes the scene, and assumes that the culprit is her secret love, the guest in the burglar costume, and that Lord Babbage will be able to identify him as his attacker. She therefore kills Lord Babbage and returns to the ball, now at its height.
Ah, highly original theory, Sir Nicholas, but have you any proof?
My dear Chief Inspector, I myself was a guest at that very ball, dressed for the occasion, rather ironically, I thought, as a burglar. But perhaps Lady Babbage would prefer to tell us the rest.
Lady Babbage?
Lady Babbage?
Lady Babbage?
Very well, very well, very well. I did it, I did it, I did it. But I did it for love and life and laughter, and for him, and for us.
I see. Do continue, your ladyship.
Sir Nicholas is quite right, Chief Inspector. I entered the conservatory at midnight, and saw in the candlelight what I assumed was my innamorato, my dear, dear Sir Nicholas Ovalmere.
Huh?
My joy, my secret pride, my sweet nest of love, in his burglar costume, black mask and cap and so forth, bludgeoning my husband, a crime of passion, or so I assumed. As the true burglar, as I later discovered him to be, leapt through the window, I saw my husband turn and point an accusing finger at him. Fearing Lord Babbage would report my beloved Sir Nicholas to the police, besmirching his honour and destroying his reputation forever. And yes, in order to rid myself of my husband. And yes, to make it possible that Sir Nicholas and I could at last consecrate our eternal life-affirming passion in marriage and the uniting of our two great names and estates, I, rather on the spur of the moment, slew my husband. I was dressed, as it happens, as Britannia, and so, of course, had a large trident immediately to hand, with which I scooped out his lordship's innards and flung them idly around the room.
Lady Babbage!
When I returned to the festivities, I saw that Sir Nicholas was still there, and I realized my ghastly mistake. The next morning, I tried to put the blame on poor Minskin, my butler, who doubtless would have been convicted and, with any luck, executed for the crime, had not Sir Nicholas, with his customary brilliance, foiled my plan.
Quite so, your ladyship.
Oh, we should have been so happy, my darling. My great and only love, my tender, my ardent, my devoted Sir Nicholas.
Lady Babbage, I don't know which I find more appalling. The murder of a distinguished peer of ancient lineage, or the suggestion that you and I are partners in some great romance, and that I would ever consider marriage to you. You, the doxy of the district, the trull of the parish, the ready relief and idle pastime of every ploughboy and blacksmith in Shropshire, the jest of the smoking room, the boast of the pantry, the mock and scorn of all the saloon bars in the Midlands and all the gentlemen's clubs in London. There has always been only one woman in my life, your ladyship, and you are hardly she.
Oh, Sir Nicholas! Nicky! Oh, this is quite unbearable. Out of my way!
She's running madly through the crowd towards the back door. Shall I stop her, Sir Nicholas?
No, Chief Inspector, I shall. Nottage, give me a boost up to the great ruby and diamond chandelier. I shall swing in the direction of her ladyship and drop upon her before she can escape. Put it out!
Certainly, Sir Nicholas.
Careful, sir.
Are you all right, Sir Nicholas? Sir Nicholas?
Yes, thank you, Nottage. Fortunately, Lady Babbage broke my fall.
That's not all that's broken, sir.
What do you mean, Minskin? Her heart?
No, Sir Nicholas. Her neck.
Indeed.
She is. She is. Oh.
Lady Babbage.
My poor ladyship! My ladyship! Oh, Mr. Minskin!
Don't weep, young Laura. Lady Babbage is now mistress of a far greater mansion than this. Her butler is St. Peter, and her maids are angels all.
Come, Nottage. Our task here is over.
Yes. Yes, of course, Sir Nicholas.
Another brandy, Nottage.
Yes, thank you, Sir Nicholas.
A fascinating case in many ways, with a touch or two of pathos, did you notice?
Yes, I believe I did.
Soda?
Please. Sir Nicholas, I'm afraid there's still something I don't understand.
Yes, Nottage. What is it?
Do you remember when you said to her ladyship that there was only one woman in your life? I rather wondered...
There is only one girl for me, Nottage.
Is there, Sir Nicholas?
Yes. As you, above all others, know very well.
Oh, do I?
Of course. The only girl who has been with me through all my sleuthing, by my side in great danger and great triumph, my unfailing, indispensable support and aid, the true and trusty partner of my deepest passion.
I see.
My companion, my inspiration, she whose favour I alone crave, and whose image I alone revere.
Oh, indeed, Sir Nicholas, I see.
Yes, my sweet and only love.
Oh.
The little lady with a sword in one hand and a pair of scales in the other, who stands on the dome of the Old Bailey.
Who, Sir Nicholas?
Men call her Justice.
Oh, I see. Yes, of course.
She is my nottage and I am hers. And so we shall continue, Justice and I, as long as this world remains the cruel, dishonest, unthinking place it is. Why, nottage, there are tears in your eyes.
Are there, sir?
Were you so very moved by my brief discourse on justice?
Yes, I suppose I was.
You're a sentimental old thing and no mistake. Who would have thought it?
Oh, who indeed, sir? Pardon me, Sir Nicholas, but I have one final question.
Do you, nottage? And what is that?
Do you think, Sir Nicholas, that mankind will ever improve? That the world will someday learn to be fair and just and kind and thoughtful? Rewarding loyalty and love and truth?
Who can say, nottage? The 1930s seem to be a time of great change. There are some very promising social experiments taking place even now in Italy and Germany. One wishes them well, of course. But as for mankind itself and the future, I wish I knew, my dear nottage. I only wish I knew. And now, do play something for me on your cello, won't you? A soothing ditty, perhaps.
Of course I shall, Sir Nicholas. With pleasure. With very great pleasure indeed.
In Casual Slaughters by Perry Pontac, Peter Jeffrey played Sir Nicholas Ovalmere and Maureen Lipman, Nottage. John Rowe was Minskin, the Nabob of Kishlika, the Professor, and Mr. Swainley. Christopher Wright, Roderick, the Overseer, Wardle, and Mrs. Swainley. Jenny Lee, Lady Babbage and Urga, and Rachel Atkins, Miss Filcrum, Lura, and Amanda Boreaster Lee. The director was Marion Nankara.
Welcome once again to our Theatre of the Air. Our stars are James Mason and Pamela Collino in a radio version of the London Films production of Baroness Orczy's famous romance, The Scarlet Pimpernel. Paris, in the days of the French Revolution. Each day, the First Lady of the Republic, Madame Guillotine, claims a score or more of victims. Each day, from the prisons of Paris, the tumbrils carry another party of aristocrats to their death. But not all of their passengers reach Madame Guillotine.
There is a force at work to save them, a mysterious Englishman and his small but resolute band of companions. The Englishman is known as the Scarlet Pimpernel and is a man of many disguises. He's a constant annoyance to the new government of France, and in particular to the first citizen of the new republic, Robespierre, and France's new ambassador in London, Citizen Chauvelin.
My dear Chauvelin, I'm very sorry I had to ask you to undertake the journey from London, but this matter of the Scarlet Pimpernel has become a national menace.
How can you expect me to detect him in a country that hates us like the devil and puts every obstacle in my way?
We expect you to overcome obstacles, like our generals in the field. They know that to lose a battle means the guillotine. Have you any plan?
Naturally. We may assume that the Scarlet Pimpernel and all his gang speak perfect French. They belong, therefore, to a class that has been brought up by French nurses and French tutors.
So far, not bad.
I have a list of all the likely names. I have them watched day and night. Sooner or later, I draw the net.
Among our prisoners is Comte de Tournay. He was to have gone to the guillotine today, together with his family, but kept him back. I felt he might be useful. He's waiting outside. All right, bring in de Tournay. Oh, the former Count de Tournay, former ambassador of the former King of France in London. Citizen Chauvelin, ambassador of the French Republic in London. De Tournay, I want to make you an offer. We offer you your life. All we ask in return is that you merely get in touch with your many English friends, and soon you'll be able to tell us who is the man known as the Scarlet Pimpernel.
You want me to be a spy?
Oh, you've been too long in politics not to be a realist. A little piece of information. We give you your life.
God gave me my life, and he will take it away as soon as it pleases him. But now my family has gone to the guillotine. My one wish is to follow them.
Would it alter your outlook to hear that your family is alive?
Don't trifle with me.
I send people to the guillotine for the future happiness of the human race. I do not allow torture.
Where are they? I saw them being dragged towards the tumbrel.
On their way to the guillotine, the band of the Scarlet Pimpernel snatched them away.
Where are they?
Probably in England by this time.
Meantime, what of the Pimpernel? De Tournay's family, safe by daring and design, he is returned to London to resume perhaps his cleverest disguise. In London, the Pimpernel is known by his real name, Sir Percy Blakeney, a leader of fashion, a fop, and the husband of the famous court beauty, Marguerite St. Just. But at the moment, Sir Percy is still the Pimpernel, for he is meeting some of his companions in his London club.
The de Tournay family arrive at Dover today?
All except the father. We shall have to go back for him. He's going to be devilish awkward after what's happened.
Well, I'll go, and so will Hastings, if you'll let us.
We'll all go if it comes to that. But even so, we're only 20, and yesterday 30 people went to the guillotine.
Are you trying to suggest that there aren't enough of us?
Percy, there isn't a decent Englishman wouldn't be proud to join us. We could be 500, 1,000 within a week.
And within another week, every one of us would be a marked man, and we shouldn't be able to rescue a single soul. More force is useless against people who are neither cowards nor fools. We must match courage with courage and cunning with even greater cunning if we're going to do anything at all. We're all willing to give our lives, but we must do more than that. We must mask our identities and suffer the humiliation of being taken for fops, fools, nitwits, and cowards.
But so many people die every day that could be saved.
Do you think I don't feel that? Do you think I like sitting there in the shadow of the knife while one head falls after another? People I know and love, innocent people, kindly people, herded like sheep, butchered like cattle, by men who make high-sounding principles an excuse for the most bestial cruelty.
High-sounding principles?
Well, sink me if it isn't Colonel Ramsbottom. Well, how are you, Ramsbottom?
Winterbottom, sir.
Ramsbottom, what a ridiculous mistake.
Are you being offensive, sir?
Who, sir? Me, sir? No, sir. Stop me. I'm bubbling over with good humor this morning. Would you believe me? I've just written a masterpiece.
Who, sir? You, sir?
Me, sir.
No, sir.
Yes, sir. All about this mysterious Pimpernel fellow. How it ever came to me, heaven only knows, because it was the most busy moment of my day. I was tying my cravat. Ah, well, here it is. The Scarlet Pimpernel by Sir Percival Blakeney, Baronet.
What?
That's the title. They seek him here, they seek him there. Those Frenchies seek him everywhere. Is he in heaven? Is he in hell? That damned elusive Pimpernel.
Not bad.
Not bad. It's damn good. I'll write it out, Sink Me, then you can all learn it, yes. Well, good day, gentlemen. Goodbye, Higginbottom.
Winterbottom, curse you.
Oh, I beg your pardon. Didn't I say Winterbottom?
Half-witted jackanapes. He doesn't belong to our vintage.
Back home, Sir Percy Blakeney finds his lovely wife, Marguerite St. Just, waiting for him. The artist, Romney, has just completed a portrait.
What do you think of it?
Clever, but there's something lacking.
What?
I don't know. There's a look in the eyes. He's lost it.
Perhaps I've lost it. Perhaps it was happiness.
Good gad, my dear. How could you be unhappy? I can't imagine.
Can't you, Percy? Can't you?
No, cursed if I can. Why, you're the most courted woman in town.
By whom?
By everybody.
Except you.
My dear, I'm your husband.
Months after we were married, we were still happy. And then came this estrangement, which heaven knows is none of my making.
Can you honestly say that?
Can you honestly deny that you've changed? So changed that I scarcely know you. You're never with me now. You're always away on some pretext or other. I'm always alone.
Then I have good news for you, my dear. Your brother's arriving from Paris.
Armand?
Yes.
When?
At any moment. And then you won't be alone, will you?
Dearest sister, you're unhappy. Why?
Armand, I have the satisfaction of knowing that the biggest fool in London has the most complete contempt for his wife.
Percy? How did it happen?
I don't know. I only know that when I married him, he was a man. He was my lover. I was glad to give up everything for him. And now... You mustn't leave me, Armand. I need you. I'm all alone.
I can't stay.
You're going back to France? But it's not safe.
For me? I'm no aristocrat.
For anyone under the Terror.
I have to look after the Blakeney estate in France.
Percy's so rich. What does it mean to him? He's not even interested in his English estates. Since the Terror, he wouldn't go over to France for all the treasure in the world. Why should you risk your life for his money?
I don't risk my life. Don't worry, darling. I'll see you before I leave. Now I must go and have a word with your husband. Percy, may I ask you something? What's happened to you and Marguerite?
Marriage, I suppose. Why?
You loved her once, I know.
Do you remember the first family to go to the guillotine? The St. Cyrs? They told me it was Marguerite who denounced them.
It was a lie.
I wish I could believe that.
Did you ask her?
I did, and she flashed back a yes as sharp as the knife of the guillotine. I watched that execution, the Marquis, his wife, his son. And it was my wife who'd put them there.
So that's why you ceased to love her. What a tragedy.
Ceased? I shall love her till I die. That's the tragedy.
And it's to make up for what she did to them that you risk your own life week after week to rescue the others.
Don't be so heroic, Armand. I got a smack in the eye and took refuge in sport. And what a sport. Gad, I think I shall have to give up fox hunting this winter.
Armand returned to France as arranged, and a week later, Chauvelin arrived in London. Making sure that Sir Percy was not at home, he paid a visit to Marguerite.
No, I will not. You've tricked me once into giving you information about the Marquis de Saint-Cyr, and I shall never forgive myself.
I'm sick of this sentimental twaddle about the poor, persecuted aristocrats. Have you forgotten what they did to the defenseless peasantry for centuries? What this very Saint-Cyr did to you?
No, I have not, but I'm no spy.
That is your last word?
Absolutely.
I wonder. Oh, by the way, how is your brother Armand?
Very well, I hope.
I hope so, too. But yesterday he was arrested.
Arrested?
At Boulogne.
What for?
As a traitor to his country.
Traitor? You're lying, Chauvelin, trying to trick me again.
I have the proof of his guilt in my pocket. This scrap of paper will certainly send your brother to the guillotine unless, of course, you care to redeem it. Bring me the name of the Pimpernel, and this is yours.
But even if I wanted to, I don't know it.
Find it.
How can I? If you can't with your army of spies?
Because you go everywhere and know everyone in his circle. That much I do know, and this also, that he will be among the guests tomorrow night at the Grenville Ball.
So will half the world. The thing's impossible.
To a clever woman whose brother's life is at stake, nothing's impossible. Well?
No, Chauvelin, I won't.
Very well, madame.
Chauvelin,
Madame?
do you swear to give me that paper?
The moment I catch the Scarlet Pimpernel.
Zones, that name again. I've heard nothing else all day. At the club, at the fight, and now here. I protest the fellow's a public nuisance. I beg your pardon, my dear. Do I intrude?
Oh, no, no. This is an old acquaintance, Monsieur Chauvelin, the French ambassador. My husband.
Charmed, delighted, enchanted. Devilish clever race, the French. How they speak that unspeakable language of theirs defeats me.
You flatter us, Sir Percy.
No, no. You have the cleverest heads in the world. The only trouble is you go all to pieces round the neck.
Round the neck?
Yes. Saint May, look at that cravat of yours. What a mess. Now, if you'd really like to know how to tie a cravat, I'll tell you. But it isn't easy, mind you. It takes all my brains.
Good day, Lady Blakeney.
Oh, no, no, no. Don't go. You and my wife must have so much to say to each other.
We have. But then I promised myself a tete-a-tete with Lady Blakeney at Lord Grenville's ball tomorrow night.
Good. Tomorrow night, then. But before you go, you must hear my verse about that cursed Pimpernel fellow. You'd love it. Listen. They seek him here. They seek him there. Those Frenchies seek him everywhere. Is he in heaven? Is he in hell? That damned elusive Pimpernel.
Delightful.
What?
Especially that line, those Frenchies seek him everywhere.
Yes, I like that, too, because, you see, I hear that they do, and that gives the line a sort of something that sort of gives it a something, if I make myself clear.
Clear as crystal. Good day, my dear Sir Percy.
Bonjour, monsieur, as the French say. What? Bonjour.
Percy, do you think that Lord Hastings might be the Scarlet Pimpernel?
Never. He couldn't even hit a ball at Eton. Why? What's your interest in the Scarlet Pimpernel?
No more than any other woman's. We'd all like to know who he is.
So would your friend Chauvelin, I'll wager.
What makes you say that?
Isn't that what he's here for? Did he tell you?
Why should he?
Why not? Mind you, the man's clever, but a fellow who can't even tie his own cravat isn't likely to put a noose round the Pimpernel's neck, is he?
Really, Percy, can you never rise above trivialities?
Can't rise above anything in more than 3 syllables, my dear. Never could.
With James Mason in the title role, we continue the story of The Scarlet Pimpernel. The following evening, at Lord Grenville's ball, Marguerite is forced by Chauvelin to help him as a spy and identifies Hastings as one of the companions of the Scarlet Pimpernel. The next morning, Marguerite talks to her husband.
Percy, I must talk to you.
Well, my dear?
It's about Armand. He's in the most terrible danger. They've arrested him in Boulogne.
How do you know?
Chauvelin told me.
When?
Yesterday.
Why didn't you tell me when I asked you?
Oh, I don't know. He threatened me.
Why are you telling me now?
Because I thought you might do something for Armand. You have influence at court.
Didn't you ask your friend Chauvelin for help?
He promised me that, but I don't trust him.
He promised you the life of your brother. What did you give him in exchange?
Oh, what's happened to you, Percy? Why do you hate me?
Why did you denounce the Marquis de Saint-Cyr?
So that's it. Why did you never ask me what the Marquis de Saint-Cyr did to me?
You didn't even know him.
No, I didn't even know him. But I knew his son. I was only 17 when he asked me to marry him. His father heard about it and had me arrested and sent to Saint-Lazare. Do you know what Saint-Lazare is? Do you know the sort of woman that is sent there? I would have killed myself only...
Only what?
The revolution came. The ever-glorious 14th of July, and I was free.
Why this tardy explanation? I asked you once if you sent the Saint-Cyr to the guillotine. You said yes.
You believed so easily, didn't you? And yet I still ask myself, am I really guilty of their death?
If not you, who is?
Marquis plotted with Austria. I told a friend, a man whom I thought a friend. He denounced him. The terror did the rest.
Who was that friend? Was it Chauvelin? He promised you your brother's life. What price did you pay for it? What price did you pay for it?
I paid a horrible price.
Well?
I tried to betray the Scarlet Pimpernel.
How?
I tried to help Chauvelin through acting as a spy. And through my betrayal, a noble and generous man may lose his life. Oh, Oh, what am I to do, Percy? How can I warn the Scarlet Pimpernel?
Warn him? Against what?
Against the danger that threatens him if he goes back to France.
My dear, if he's the kind of lunatic I take him to be, your warning won't stop him.
But he might be going to his death.
Well, that's all the fellow lives for. Besides, he doesn't know that you're in love with him.
I'm not in love with him. I admire his heroism, but I don't love him.
Oh, but you do. Only you don't know it. I didn't know it myself until a moment ago.
Oh, Percy, please don't joke about it.
It's no joke, believe me. Dangerous game falling in love with a phantom, my dear. For all you know, he may be a married man who's deeply in love with his wife.
Never.
Why not?
Would any man who's in love with his wife leave her continually to face death? Would you?
Me? Oh, zoons. I'm much more romantic than you think. In a case like that, I wouldn't leave you. Not even to go to my tailor's.
Where are you going now? Are you going away?
Yes, didn't I tell you? Important business in town.
Your tailor's, I suppose.
Not only my tailor's, my bootmaker's. Goodbye, my dear.
Milady, a letter to be delivered into your ladyship's hands.
From Sir Percy?
No, madam. From His Excellency the French ambassador.
My lady, thanks to your help, I have at last discovered the identity of the Scarlet Pimpernel. I hope to catch him tomorrow, and true to my word, I present you with the note which would have sent your brother to the guillotine. You have saved him. Chauvelin. Where is Monsieur Chauvelin?
He left this morning for France, madam.
All right, thank you. Meadows, the carriage.
Why, Lady Blakeney, what brings you here at such a late hour?
Oh, Lord Hastings, I came to you because I think you're the only person who can help me. I dare not tell you the whole story, but through my foolishness, I believe I have betrayed the Scarlet Pimpernel. I think you know who the Pimpernel is. I believe you work with him and for him. You must tell him that he must not return to France, as Monsieur Chauvelin is aware of his identity.
Lady Blakeney, you do not know the identity of the Pimpernel?
I do not.
Then heaven help me, I must break my vow. It is your husband.
Percy? But he's gone
Has gone to France, Lady Blakeney.
Where? Where is he?
Why, do you want to...
Oh, look at me, man. Do I look like a woman who wants to send her husband to his death? I want to find Percy, to warn him, to save him, or to die with him.
I'll go with you.
Can you bring your friends?
10 of them. The rest of them are in France. Percy has forbidden us to go over. It will be the first time we've ever disobeyed him.
I'll save Percy, even if I have to kill Chauvelin. And if he goes to the guillotine, I'll go after him.
Meanwhile at Boulogne, with Armand Saint-Just a prisoner at the local jail, Monsieur Chauvelin is waiting for his victim.
So much for the bait, now for the trap. The net has to be spread with more than cunning. Blakeney's no fool. Besides, he's a master of makeup and disguise. He may turn up as an old woman, a peddler with the pack, a peasant with a beard, anything.
Citizen Chauvelin!
How dare you burst in like this? Who are you?
Jailer from the prison.
What do you want?
Citizen Chauvelin, Saint-Just. He's escaped.
Escaped?
It was no fault of mine, citizen. The head jailer and the others would have killed me if I hadn't taken the money to free that accursed aristocrat.
What?
The Pimpernel's taken them to England. He promised us all jobs there. But I'm a good patriot, Citizen Chauvelin, and I'm not losing my head because I've got some information that will save yours. What's it worth?
What do you know?
Where you can find the Scarlet Pimpernel.
Out with it!
Oh, my throat!
Where?
He told me to meet him at 10 o'clock at the Lion d'Or.
10 o'clock at the Lion d'Or. We'll have every road watched and a company of soldiers to surround the place. This time we'll catch him. It's our last chance.
Good evening. Is this the Lion d'Or?
What do you want here? This is no place for one of your sort.
I'm the sort that pays well, Citizen Brogard.
For what?
For a seat by the fire.
Oh, all right.
I'll wait here for a friend of mine. And yours.
What do I know of your friends?
You must be expecting him. What time? What time?
10 o'clock.
What's that? Listen.
Oh,
Where can I hide?
quick, to the attic. Citizen Brogard, Yes? under arrest. What for? Betraying the Republic, helping the enemies of France, harboring a gang of dangerous criminals, smuggling aristocrats out of the country. That's a lie. You've got one chance. Take it or I'll hang you now from your own sign. The leader of your gang is coming here tonight, isn't he? Isn't he? Yes. What time? He ordered his boat to be off the point at 10 o'clock. But he'll call here for his passengers first, won't he? He might. Might? You look pretty swinging in the wind. How does he know it's safe? Take him away, Sergeant. I'm going upstairs to search the place.
Yes, come along, you.
Lady Blakeney! This is an unexpected pleasure.
Chauvelin.
We are expecting your husband quite soon. In what disguise will he arrive when the time comes, I wonder? Now, my sergeant shall have the privilege of watching over the Republic's most charming prisoner for the rest of the evening. Sergeant?
Good evening, Monsieur Chauvelin. How nice of you to wait up for me.
You walked in here quite freely, but you won't walk out a free man.
A prophet now, Monsieur Chauvelin.
The time for laughing is past, Sir Percy. I've sought you for a year. Your energy, your ingenuity, your audacity have been quite admirable, but now the game is up.
Because all the trumps are in your hand, eh?
Precisely. This house is surrounded by my soldiers. I've only to raise my voice.
Yes, I see your point. But suppose I could reach a door. The night is black, the sea is mine, I make a dash.
You may go, because I know you'll come back of your own free will.
You overestimate the charm of your society.
I told you once the time for jesting was over. I have all the trumps in my hand. In that room upstairs, there is a woman under arrest who has forfeited her life by aiding the enemies of the Republic.
What woman?
Your wife. Is the game up, Sir Percy? Is this the last adventure?
I give up, Chauvelin. What next?
There's a firing squad outside.
And my wife?
The Revolutionary Tribunal.
That means death.
It would have meant my death if I had not caught you. Don't be alarmed, Sir Percy. I don't want your wife's life. She is free the moment you die.
I offer you a pact. If you'll promise to say nothing to her, if you'll send her onto my ship immediately, I'll walk up in front of your firing squad.
I accept. Sergeant, bring the lady down.
Percy.
My dear.
I wanted to give my life to save you. Oh, forgive me, Percy.
My dear, it's nothing. I'm in no danger.
Oh, Percy, I want to die with you.
Marguerite! Don't move, Chauvelin. She's fainted. Our parting would be too cruel, even for you. Just take her out while she's still unconscious. My boat should be at the point by now. Goodbye, my sweet. It's good to know that you love me.
Sergeant, send this lady to the English ship around the point. If anybody attempts to land, shoot.
Yes, citizen.
Do you like poetry, Monsieur Chauvelin?
That dim, elusive pimpernel?
No. I mean poetry. This other Eden, this demi-paradise, this fortress built by nature for herself against infection and the hand of war. This happy breed of men, this little world, this precious stone set in the silver sea, this blessed plot, this earth, this realm, this England. Oh, dammy, I forget the rest. Halt! Zones. Now it appears I shan't have time to remember.
Sir? Sergeant, you have your orders. Proceed.
Goodbye, Monsieur Chauvelin.
Ready?
Ready!
Fire!
Fire!
I'm so sorry, Monsieur Chauvelin. I had to come back for my hat. It's such a cursed good hat, you know. Now, don't look at me like that. Sink me if you don't think I'm my own ghost.
Sergeant!
I'm afraid it'll be an hour or so before the poor sergeant will be able to resume his duties. I regret that I had to strike him rather violently.
Soldiers, seize him!
Always so impulsive, my dear Chauvelin. This is my firing squad. Their disguise was rather effective, don't you think? Allow me to introduce you. This is Lord Hastings, Monsieur Chauvelin.
Oh, let go!
To bind him, truss him up. I'm afraid we shall have to leave you, Mr. Chauvelin. I hope you won't have to wait long. It's so very cold.
Everything's ready, sir. Marguerite and Armand are in the boat. What are your instructions?
We're going home, Hastings. Home to England.
You have been listening to James Mason as Sir Percy Blakeney and Pamela Colino as Marguerite in the radio adaptation of the London Films production The Scarlet Pimpernel by Baroness Orczy. Until the next time we meet, when we shall be presenting another radio version of a British film or play. Goodbye.
The Point of the Story by Perry Pontac, with Eleanor Bron, Robert Lang, Tessa Peake-Jones, John Moffat, Elizabeth Kelly, and Michael Kilgareth.
Good afternoon. Mrs. Codling? Yes? I'm Lady Bramage, your district councillor. Lady Bramage? Yes. I'm here to ask for your support in the district elections next week. I hope I can count on you.
Certainly, Lady Bramage.
Good. May I come in, please?
Come in? Oh, please do. The kettle is just boiling, Lady Bramage. Would you like a cup of tea?
Yes, thank you. In fact, I brought a small tin of Earl Grey with me. You may have some too, if you like.
Oh, very kind. Thank you.
This cottage of yours is council property, I believe.
Oh, yes. And at a very reasonable rent, too. Just able to afford it. Oh, my widow's mite.
Ah, yes. Splendid views across the motorway.
We think so.
Convenient parking, a large residential area, rising property values, most promising. Have you been here long?
Over 30 years.
Indeed.
Tea's ready. Shall I pour, Lady Bramage?
Please. Mrs. Codling, I've dropped in not only to solicit your support, but on council business as well. I've come to inform you that your little cottage is being demolished on the 16th of next month to make way for a bingo hall, public house, massage parlour, fundamentalist church complex. I thought it only good manners to tell you.
Demolished?
Yes. The property has been acquired by a very distinguished consortium, not unconnected with my family, in fact, so I can vouch for their integrity. I should think a month. Plenty of time for you to find somewhere to live, see to the moving, cutting off the gas and electricity, that sort of thing.
I see. So you'll be sending in the bulldozers next month?
Oh, no, Mrs. Codling. Bulldozers take far too long, and the constant noise is most disturbing to the neighbours. No, we use a little bomb nowadays. Simply explode the place away all at once. It's like magic, really.
I see. But where will I go, Lady Bramage?
That is entirely your choice, Mrs. Codling. I have saved your life by coming here, my dear woman. Surely it isn't my responsibility to find you alternative accommodation as well.
No, I suppose not. It will be hard leaving this place, Lady Bramage. I've been here for so long, brought up all the children. Oh, we've had such times here. My husband Alf passed away on that very carpet. He was stoking the fire when the national anthem came on the wireless during the Remembrance Day service. He tried to stand to attention and struck his head on the mantelpiece, fell to the floor, cursed for a moment or two, and then was silent. A casualty of war, one might say. He would have enjoyed that.
A touching scene, I'm sure.
It wasn't easy in the years that followed. I had to raise all the children by myself. Alf had been a great admirer of the British military tradition, you see, and he ran the family on regimental lines, strict discipline and all that. After he died, I inherited his command, so to speak. The children had to keep their rooms tidy, had an inspection every day, reveille at dawn. I learned the bugle specially. Lights out at 9:15. Any disrespect to me or to the royal family, and they were confined to quarters. After they grew up, they all emigrated.
Ah, America? Australia?
Poland, one of them. Ginny lives in a slum in Costa Rica. Andrew's up in the Arctic Circle somewhere.
A far-flung family, I see. They seldom visit you, I suppose, not living locally.
Never. An occasional letter from Ginny in some foreign language I don't understand.
You will have your post forwarded, of course.
So you see, I can't stay with any of my children, and I really haven't anyone else. I couldn't afford to rent, and buying's out of the question. I haven't any savings at all, I'm afraid, only my pension. In fact, I owe rather a lot to a finance company. A final demand for payment came in the post only this morning. I don't know where I'll go, Lady Bramage, and by the 16th of next month... Oh.
Don't be upset, Mrs. Codling. I myself have found that something always turns up. It will all work out, and if not, suffering can be most ennobling, I hear, although of no particular advantage to those of us already ennobled. A change will do no end of good, I assure you.
Yes.
You could join a travelling circus. There's one in town now, as luck would have it. A childhood dream of yours, I'll wager. It's never too late, Mrs. Codling.
No.
Or have you considered sleeping rough? A taste of the great outdoors, new companions, the lure of the open road. Rather tempting, you must admit.
Yes.
Do cheer up. I know. I shall tell you one of my lengthy stories. They are, I believe, a constant source of inspiration to others. Indeed, Mrs. Codling, members of my family have frequently said that listening to my stories has taught them, above all, patience. Patience and the will to endure.
A story?
Yes. A personal story, a moral tale, plucked from my life and times to calm your fears, to comfort you, and to inspire you to go on.
Thank you, Lady Bramage.
Not at all. Might I have some more tea, please?
Oh, yes, of course. Sorry.
It all happened several years ago, Mrs. Codling. It was shortly after the birth of my son Lennox, during his christening party, in fact. The vicar was there, and the Lord Mayor, and our accountant had just arrived, so the revelry was at its height. I coaxed my late husband, Ranulph, then alive, into the library.
Yes, Delia, what is it?
My dear Ranulph, I must tell you something. I thought it best to wait until after the baby was born and christened, and I shall keep it from you no longer.
Keep what, Mother?
Ranulph, my dearest Ranulph, you are not, as it happens, the father of our child.
Not the father? I'm not the father?
I'm afraid not.
I see. Hussy, strumpet, incontinent beast of the field, not Lennox's father? Then who is? I shall rend him limb from limb. I shall hunt him with my hounds. Who is he?
Does it really matter, my sweet? Can't we just drop the subject and go on as before? Must we rake over these old coals? Why, it's been 9 months, my dear. It's ancient history.
Who is the father? I demand to know, Delia.
Very well, Ranulph, if you insist. The father is Arnold... something or other. I don't remember the last name. You know, the stable lad.
A stable lad? I am going to the whip room, Delia. You will excuse me.
One moment, Ranulph. I have another revelation, not entirely unrelated to the previous one.
Yes?
Well, to be quite candid, Ranulph, I am not the child's mother.
You are not his mother?
No. The true mother was little Lynette. You know, the blonde, curly-headed scullion used to shine the copperware, a sweet-natured creature. You must remember her.
No.
Well, the child is hers, or was hers. I promised to take it as soon as it was born. Indeed, I timed my supposed confinement with hers and feigned going into labour when she really did.
But I don't understand your months of pregnancy, your vast belly, your wild midnight eating bouts.
My vast belly was the direct result of my wild midnight eating bouts, undertaken to swell me up to the very model of incipient childbearing. As you will recall, Ranulph, I remained in my room for the final few days of my pregnancy. We had to secrete poor Lynette in one of the box rooms. Shortly before the birth, Dr. Crask rushed to her bedside and delivered her of our child, with all decent haste. Then he whipped off the umbilical cord and dashed down the hall to my bedside with the baby under his arm, wrapped in brown paper to avoid suspicion, and placed the infant next to me in the bed.
I see. But why, Delia?
Because you were so eager to have an heir. And despite years of arduous effort on both our parts, we seemed unable to produce one. No one is to blame, Ranulph.
I suppose not. Though the wanton young woman should be punished, I suppose. Where is she?
I sent her off immediately after the birth with a few pounds, some good advice, and her name free from shame.
And the father?
Arnold Nugent. Yes, that is his name. He is still working in the stables, I believe.
Nugent, do you say? No, Nugent isn't in the stables or anywhere else on the estate. I sacked him 2 years ago for malingering.
But Lynette said it happened only last year, in December.
Lynette? Blonde, curly-headed girl, sweet-natured, used to shine the copperware?
Yes.
Long legs, alabaster thighs, smooth belly, firm buttocks, mole on upper left breast. Ah! Good news, Delia! The child is mine! Doubtless Lynette thought it tactful under the circumstances to invent some wild tale about a stable lad.
Yours?
Yes! The blossom of my loins, if, sadly, not of your own. Result of an incident in the kitchen last December, an old family custom at Christmas-tide, while the pudding was boiling.
I see.
Ah, yes. But don't be annoyed, my dear. It is, as you say, ancient history, and it has given us a fine boy, our husky young Lennox, my true heir.
I see.
Oh, my dear, do cheer up. I know. Before we return to the party, I shall tell you an inspirational story drawn from my long experience, illustrating the necessity of accepting whatever life has to offer.
Very well.
Sit down there. Now, it all happened several years ago. I was in Piccadilly shopping for riding crops, as the hunting season was fast approaching, and I wear them out so damnably quickly on that brute of a horse of mine. They were having a sale of particularly painful ones at Stedley's, and I managed to pick up a couple of beauties. As I left the shop, I happened to pass my dentist's surgery, and I recalled that several years before I'd received a card from my dentist suggesting in the most insistent terms that I call in. I had ignored it at the time, of course, but as I had a few minutes to spare, I decided to visit him. When I arrived, I was ushered into the surgery immediately by a dental assistant.
Please sit here in the dentist's chair, Sir Ranulph. Mr. Fraser will be back from lunch shortly. Would you care for a caramel?
No, thank you. I'm in rather a hurry.
Oh, yes. A cold day, isn't it?
Oh.
Still, can't complain. Still, one does. Still...
Ah, Sir Ranulph, how good to see you.
Mr. Fraser, I trust you will inform me why I've been sent for, and so urgently. I'm not accustomed to being summoned forth like a servant, nor to be kept waiting once I do arrive, nor to have to endure the small talk of a dental assistant with a regional accent. I should be grateful to hear what you have to say, and to leave immediately afterwards. It is only too clear that I have not postponed my return to the dentist's chair long enough.
Well, as it happens, Sir Ranulph, I have been studying your old X-rays recently. Indeed, I took them to bed with me only last night. Quite fascinating.
Oh, thank you.
Now, open your mouth, please, Sir Ranulph. Little wider, perhaps. Thank you. Miss Phelps, may I have the cotton wool roll, please? Thank you. And, now the suction tube and the gum wedge. In they go. Now a tooth cage, please. And just tighten it a bit round that upper left molar. Fine. And another one, please. And another. Now, Sir Ranulph, as I say, I've examined your X-rays and come to a significant conclusion. You must have all your teeth out. Yes, every last one of them. In fact, I think we might as well make a day of it. I haven't any other appointments for the rest of the afternoon, and it would make such a welcome break from the daily routine of scraping teeth, filling cavities, that sort of thing. It won't be easy, mind you. No, it's full of all sorts of technical difficulties, but I've always relished a challenge. No need for injections, I think. Now, I'd have to give you so many, and we'd have to wait so long for them to take effect. And surely a master of the hunt like yourself, accustomed to weary hours in the saddle in pursuit of the kill, can bear a little discomfort. So, on we go, eh? Afterwards, if you like, I can get you some really first-class dentures. Rather expensive, of course, but on the other hand, very profitable for me. And I have been seriously thinking of doing up my surgery. Mughal miniatures on the walls, perhaps an Armenian carpet, little Renaissance putti on the ceiling. Also, I'm considering having the tropical fish tank in the waiting room taken out and an altogether bigger one put in. You know, with marlin and barracuda and manatees. Give the children something to look at while they wait. Save a fortune in magazines. Uncomfortable, are you, Sir Ranulph? The tongue clamp, please, Miss Phelps. Now, I'll do a little heavy drilling first, Sir Ranulph, just to blast things away, clear the area, so I have enough elbow room to manoeuvre. You may feel some extreme pain now and again, but surely, Sir Ranulph, you know of the redemptive power of suffering. I myself have seen it many times. Smug, haughty, arrogant people reduced to a true humility of spirit after just 3 or 4 hours in the chair. Most gratifying. You sound sceptical, Sir Ranulph. May I tell you a little story? It will pass the time and perhaps strengthen you in your suffering. No trouble at all, I assure you. Several years ago, I was... the nerve pincers, please, Miss Phelps.
Certainly, Mr. Fraser.
Thank you. Now, as I was saying, Sir Ranulph, it all happened several years ago. I was on a hiking holiday in the Himalayas with a group of fellow dentists, all of us searching for fossils of dinosaur teeth, which fairly litter the landscape in that happy region. The dental surgeon's paradise, they call it in the brochures, and how right they are. Somehow, in the excitement of the hunt, I became separated from the rest of the company and found myself wandering hopelessly lost in a blizzard along treacherous mountain passes, talking to myself in order to maintain my sanity, sometimes having to scream in order to be heard above the roar of the storm. How terrifying this is! As I essay the corner of a narrow, precipitous ledge high in the Himalayas during a blinding snowstorm, numb to the bone and lashed by malevolent winds in the very heart of avalanche country. I continued for some time in that vein as the snowfall thickened and the wind increased. At such times, Sir Ranulph, a man tries to come to terms with himself and with the ultimate questions of life. Why do we exist? Why do we care why we exist? However, I abandoned my musings when I suddenly saw dimly in the distance a figure, a human figure, a woman it seemed to be, emerge for a moment from a cave to puff on a cigarette and then re-enter the cave, followed by the smart slam of a door behind her. Desperately, I slogged to the spot where she had been and found a cave with a great front door hewn out of Himalayan pine. Are you there? There was no reply, only the uneasy rumble of an avalanche somewhere above me. I was, of course, tempted to flee, but the thought of another human being who might give me shelter, or at the very least directions, kept me there knocking. Suddenly, the door began to open.
Yes? Oh, a stranger.
Might I please enter your cave for a moment, just to come in out of the avalanche?
I beg your pardon?
It was a young woman of striking corpulence, dressed in rather tattered aviatrix attire and holding a cigarette. I instantly recognized her. Veronica Manford Sills, are you not? The aviatrix, lost in a flight over the Himalayas a few years ago?
Yes. I'm afraid you have the advantage of me. You are...
Oh, sorry. W.J. Fraser.
Oh?
The dentist.
Dentist? What luck. I have toothache, you see. But what have I been thinking about? Do come in, please.
Thank you.
This part of the cave, Mr. Fraser, is my reception room. Won't you sit down on that boulder over there? It's the most comfortable one in the whole place. Of course, I have been sitting on it for years. Improved the contours considerably, I suppose.
Thank you.
Care for a drink?
A drink? Yes, please.
I'll call my butler. Ambrose! Ambrose!
Why, isn't that the Yeti? The abominable snowman?
Yes, I believe he is. Doesn't look half bad in that dinner jacket, does he? I'm afraid I can't pronounce his real name. Arumbrum, something like that. Ambrose drinks.
However did you manage
to tame him? With my allure, I'm afraid.
Do you mean...
My dear sir, we are not in a drawing room in Belgravia. We do things differently in the upper Himalayas. Since I crash-landed here years ago, I have had to learn to adjust my principles and expectations. The cold can be most penetrating, and without the warmth of the various hides and furs which Ambrose has been kind enough to bring me, stripped from the beasts he has slain, muskox, Tibetan timber wolf, giant Asian grey sloth, you name it, I should have perished long ago. Should have sneezed myself to death on numerous occasions. Ah, the brandy. Thank you, Ambrose.
Brandy?
Yes, several cases were with me at the time of the crash, among other provisions. A dinner jacket, evening gown, cigarettes, and various edibles on which I have survived, and shall, I hope, long continue to do so. You see, Lloyd, my late co-pilot, and I planned a celebratory dinner in Kathmandu at the conclusion of the flight. Alas, never to be.
I see.
So tell me, Mr. Fraser, what's the news from the outside world?
The news? Well, an ultra-high-speed drill is being perfected in Norway, should be on the market in a year to 18 months, and I myself am developing a new abscess treatment. A quite bold idea involving leeches and prussic acid, though I'd be grateful if you didn't mention it to anyone for the time being.
Not a word, I promise. Most interesting, Mr. Fraser. Though, to be frank, my field is not so much dentistry as aeronautics. Did you go to the autogyro show at Olympia this year?
No, I'm afraid not.
Ah. And how did you come to be wandering in a blizzard in the Himalayas, if I might ask?
It's not much of a story, I'm afraid. I was separated from my party of dentists while looking for fossils of dinosaur teeth.
I see. And are all dentists as attractive as you?
I don't know that I'm attractive.
Perhaps living so long and in such intimacy with an abominable snowman has had an effect on my standards of masculine beauty, I don't know. You seem to me quite irresistible. And what do you think of me, Mr. Fraser?
You?
Yes, do you find me at all attractive?
Yes, of course. Very pleasant jowls, and so many of them. And nice little eyes.
And my mouth. Particularly this bicuspid.
Bicuspid? Oh, let me see. Open wide. Rather a bad cavity there, I'm afraid. I expect it gives you some pain.
So it does. Ah, but what can one do?
Oh, it's very simple. Temporary relief can be obtained by the application of a drop or two of oil of cloves. I myself always carry a small vial with me, just in case. You see?
Thank you so much, Mr. Fraser. This should last me quite a while.
Oh, yes.
Well, I don't think there's any need for you to remain now that I have this. Goodbye.
Goodbye? But do you mean I must go? Couldn't I stay for a while? Until the spring thaw, perhaps?
Certainly not. There isn't enough food for the both of us. Ambrose eats the flesh of the animals he has slain, but that hardly seems your métier, if I may say so. No, you'll have to go. And I suggest you hurry. The weather will grow worse in a few days, and your chances of ever being found by your party, laughable at the best of times, will become even slimmer.
I see. And what if I refuse to go?
Then I shall be forced to call on Ambrose to serve as bouncer. It happened once before, with a musk ox. Poor creature.
I see.
But please finish your drink, and don't look so depressed. Wandering forlorn in an alien landscape, a plaything of the elements, blasted by winds, buried by snow, numbed by ice, unhoused and open to the fury of the skies, can be most instructive. So the poets and moral philosophers tell us. Indeed. Would you like to hear a little story from my own life?
A story?
Yes, to inspire you in your forthcoming terrible travail.
I suppose so.
Good. Ambrose, another brandy for our guest. It happened several years ago, Mr. Fraser, in Hyde Park. The advertising company for which I was working had organised a summer picnic and fete, with all sorts of special activities. I was preparing to enter the sack race. It was always one of my best events. And I had just stepped into my sack when an unknown hand pushed me to the bottom of it, tied it securely at the top, and carried me away in it. I was taken, as it transpired, to a Mid-Eastern embassy somewhere in Knightsbridge, abducted, to be precise, and thrown into a seraglio situated there for the convenience of the ambassador. All this I discovered by closely grilling the various eunuchs who tended and guarded me. My quarters were rather palatial, I admit. A large room with a bedstead, thickly mattressed, and scattered with glossy cushions of red and gold. The walls were lined with illustrated tiles, each depicting a man and woman in a different erotic position, some of them seemingly most uncomfortable, though the participants were smiling good-naturedly. Incense filled the room from a brass censer in the corner, and a great chandelier of diamonds hung from the ceiling, reflecting rainbow colours by day and scattered moonlight by night.
Ah.
For weeks, Mr. Fraser, I was fed on sticky confections, syrupy dainties, fattening concoctions of all sorts, whether I would or not, until in time I came to fill out the once vastly oversized pantaloons and billowing overblouse issued to me on my arrival. One day, as I was just finishing up a camel-fat casserole, the door of my quarters opened and the ambassador entered, a tall man wearing a voluminous turban, grey business suit, and a silver-handled sword at his side.
Ah, Miss Manford Seals, how do you do? My apologies for having taken so long to welcome you personally into my harem. Various ambassadorial duties, you understand. I hope your stay with us will be a happy one. Oh, but don't let me interrupt your meal, my dear. Eat.
Thank you, Your Excellency, but I do not think I wish to eat any more.
Oh, but you must. Finish up that casserole, and I'll give you a nice big box of Turkish delight. Finish up that, and you can have a cheese and mushroom pizza, hot from the oven.
I don't want anything else to eat, sir.
Oh.
My only desire is to leave, and as soon as possible. You will call me a taxi immediately.
Alas, Miss Manford Seals, I am afraid that is impossible. You must remain here and remain eating until you are sufficiently corpulent as to be incapable of escaping from any of the embassy's portals. It is the only way for me to ensure your captivity, I fear.
I see. And after I attain such corpulence?
Oh, then you will, of course, stay here forever, a bulbous plaything of my fancy. No chance of rescue, I'm afraid. This is foreign territory.
Stay here forever?
Yes. I saw you romping in Hyde Park a few weeks ago and simply had to have you. It was an impulse, but somehow I knew you would fatten beautifully.
I see.
You are the only English woman in my London harem. Quite an honor, my dear. I think I shall save you for peculiarly English occasions. Whitsunday, royal births, first day of the Harrods sale, Wimbledon fortnight. Here, you have a Turkish delight. Quite delicious.
No, thank you.
Oh, don't be so downcast, Miss Manford Seals. This is destiny, the will of heaven. Be philosophical. I know. I shall tell you a story from my own experience in the wars. It will teach you the value of patience and endurance, that sort of thing.
A story?
Yes. Feel free to continue eating as I speak. Now, it all happened several years ago. I had conquered my foes, as usual, after receiving no more than a scimitar wound near the heart, and was riding through the desert on my camel, when suddenly I saw in the distance another rider on camelback coming towards me. A wretched creature he seemed, Miss Manford Seals, dressed in a soiled turban and tattered kaftan, riding hard. As soon as he reached me, he dismounted and threw himself before me, kissing my camel's feet. He was an old man, weary and bewhiskered, and after he rose and bowed, said that he craved only to heal my wound and to tell my future. Weary myself from battle and in some pain, and not wishing to insult the old man, I agreed. First, he pressed a bright green leaf from the sacred sucubara plant against the wound in my bosom. It healed almost instantly. I offered him a silver coin, but he said his payment would be the honor of revealing to me my fate. I would thrive, he said, in battle and in love and in diplomacy, becoming at last my country's ambassador to the court of St. James. I would continue to flourish until the day the wound which he had healed at last reopened, and then I would perish in much pain like any other man. I smote him for his impertinence, of course, and rode away as he lay writhing on the hot sand. Now, later, the same day, I was in... How curious. My old pain has returned to me from that That very scimitar wound sustained all those years ago. The old man said it would prove fatal at last. Well, Miss Mantford Sills, to cut a long story short, I was riding through a small village. Oh, but no, I cannot possibly do the story justice in the brief time permitted. Oh, but then again, my dear, death is the moral of all tales, is it not? The great teacher of patience, the soother of all sorrows. We are but grains of sand blown by the desert wind, grit between some Bedouin's toes. And life is merely a tiny oasis in the middle of a vast desert, or a tiny desert in the middle of a vast oasis, a mirage that fades at the end of the day, a small house by a river with a white fence and some garden chairs and a table with a bowl of fruit on it. 3 peaches and a tangerine. A cloud that shreds before the sun, whispering harsh reproofs to the invisible stars. A palm tree standing.
And then, Mr. Fraser, he died. Eager to escape, I unwound his turban, a massive affair that yielded many yards of good stout cloth, and lowered it out of the window, one end tied to the bedstead. I greased myself liberally with the casserole, and was just able to squeeze through the window. I climbed down the cloth to the grounds below, and then hurled myself, bulldozer-like, through the great hedge and into the street outside.
Ah.
In the months that followed, I tried desperately to forget those days in the Seraglio, and finally, in an attempt to lose myself in some new activity, I went down to the local aerodrome and signed up for flying lessons. Because of my now considerable size, I had to have a special aeroplane fitted to me, but I found I loved the life. I and my fiancé, Lloyd Boskin, a fellow pilot whom I had met at an aerodrome tea dance, decided to try to fly to Kathmandu amidst great publicity. Well-wishers thronged to Croydon Airport to see us off. Lloyd and I became idols of the nation's youth. I still have a pair of commemorative spoons. The press coverage was most extensive.
I well remember.
Do you? Alas, the aircraft proved unable to sustain our combined weight, and we crashed here in the Himalayas. He soon perished of hunger, but I was able to live off my body fat for quite a while, until meeting Ambrose, who brought me to this cave and who, in time, became my constant companion, friend, butler, lover, and household pet.
And have you been happy here?
Strangely enough, yes. I have found a sort of rough contentment in my little cave. There are, of course, some things one misses, Mr. Fraser. I sometimes yearn for a really good hairdresser, and I would particularly welcome the attentions of a qualified dietitian.
Oh?
I am, as you can see, Mr. Fraser, still rather overweight. Indeed, my great bulk, which I have never been able to put aside since my days at the embassy, has left me with a history of serious heart trouble. A history which, it appears, is now about to end. My heart! My heart! You don't know anything about such matters, I expect.
I'm afraid not. My speciality is dental hygiene. I've never been very good on innards.
I see. Oh. I leave everything to Ambrose.
She died then, Sir Ralph, falling off her stone and rolling boulder-like towards the entrance of the cave. Ambrose, who had watched with some fascination, seized me by the arm and escorted me, rather roughly, I thought, out of the cave. The weather had worsened considerably. A typhoon had added its fury to that of the blizzard, and avalanches seemed a regular feature. I wandered for many hours along perilous crags, darting from shelter to shelter, the sound of the Tibetan timber wolf on the prowl and the muskox raging in the tundra as familiar to me as the beatings of my own wild heart. Just when I had given up all hope, I heard my name being called. W.J. Fraser! I turned. and saw a rescue party of my fellow dentists, brave souls who had outfaced the elements to find me. They brought me to their campsite and warmed me by their fire, and I ate heartily and told them my many adventures. In time, I returned to civilization and resumed my practice, which flourished, helped by press reports of my discovery of Miss Manford Sills. You know the sort of thing. Dentist finds aviatrix in Yeti love nest. The only unfortunate effect of the whole experience was a touch of Kanchenjunga mountain fever, which I apparently picked up in my ramblings among the glaciers. Coincidentally, I seem to feel the symptoms of it now. The fatal symptoms, judging from their remarkable intensity. Oh, yes, I'm afraid, Sir Ranulph, that I cannot complete my present task. Finish up for me, will you, Miss Phelps?
And then, my dear Delia, he died, falling to the floor, the drill still vibrating in his hand. Miss Phelps valiantly attempted to complete the job, but being untrained, made rather a hash of it.
Oh, Ranulph.
Eventually, I had the entire mouth restocked with teeth, and now possess one of the most sincere smiles in the county. Without such a smile, I could scarcely have been elected regularly, as I have, to the district council. I'm very grateful for my present teeth, couldn't do without them, and consequently I cannot regret the removal of the old ones. Nevertheless, my time with Mr. Fraser in the chair that day was a most unpleasant episode. Indeed, the experience took years of my life, and as I already had few enough years left at the time, I could hardly afford the loss. And now, with the excitement of this christening party and the shocking news, first, that I am not, and second, that I am my son's father, plus the exhausting effort involved in telling a story of such length, the sheer breath required, and the physical strain of doing so many different voices, I fear that my aged constitution cannot... Oh, my dear, a stroke. Oh.
He dropped down effortlessly, Mrs. Codling, like a pair of old abandoned trousers, and without a murmur. I left my husband crumpled there in the library and returned to the christening party, determined not to mar the festivities with my sad news. And how right I was. The afternoon was perfectly delightful. Ranulph's funeral, a week or so later, was an equally brilliant affair. Several leading political figures attended, and a funeral oration was given not only by the master of the local hunt, but by one of our local poachers, a rough but attractive lad called Simpson, now working for the estate, as my chauffeur, in fact. I myself took advantage of the mournful occasion to address the gathering on the matter of the gross overtaxation of the rich and on the need to restore capital punishment. As a result, a few months later, I stood successfully for Ranulph's former place on the district council, and I've been elected regularly ever since.
An interesting story, Lady Bramage, full of odd incidents, various plot lines, exciting turns of event, and colourful characters.
Thank you.
Quite intriguing. I especially liked your description of your husband's death, if I may say so. He dropped down effortlessly, like a pair of old abandoned trousers. Oh, very expressive.
Thank you again.
And I found the dentist most interesting, and the aviatrix. I felt I could almost hear her voice. Fascinating. Thank you so much.
Not at all.
Although, if I may say so, I'm not entirely sure what the point of the story is.
The point of it?
Yes.
I'm not entirely certain myself. It was so long, and I have such a bad memory. Let us examine the situation. You are Mrs. Codling, are you not?
Yes, Lady Bramage.
Good. And I have come here to solicit your vote, and to tell you... Yes, it's all coming back to me. To tell you that the district council is... One moment, let me check my diary. Yes, we are demolishing your cottage at tea time on July the 16th. I knew I'd remember. Now, Yes, to the point. I really can't say. I suppose it's rather what the ambassador said. Death is the moral of all tales, the soother of all sorrows, that sort of thing.
July 16th? No, Lady Bramage, surely not. You mean August 16th. You said next month.
No, Mrs. Codling. Here, look, in my diary, 16th of July, flower show in morning, Mrs. Codling's cottage demolished at tea time.
But, Lady Bramage, that's impossible. This is July 16th. And tea time.
That was The Point of the Story by Perry Pontac. The part of Lady Bramage was played by Eleanor Bron, Sir Ranulph by Robert Lang, and Miss Manford Sills by Tessa Peake Jones. Mr. Fraser was played by John Moffat, Mrs. Codling, Elizabeth Kelly, and the Ambassador by Michael Kilgarriff. The play was directed by Richard Wortley.